Lots of stuff, too numerous to mention. But listen in.
Yes, best
Because I
or
listen to your
social
breakfast
check-in.
show.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Greg.
See you tomorrow morning for Thursday's Naughty Alarm Clock, which I'll listen to as well. It's 9 o'clock, time for a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A former Agriculture Minister says he believes the coalition can reach agreement on agriculture emission cuts by September. Barry Kyan thinks the deal can be brokered before the Dáil returns after its summer break. Talks broke down last night without agreement, with negotiations expected to resume this morning. Environment Minister and Green Party leader Eamon Ryan is pushing for the maximum cut of 30%, while backbenchers from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael want a target closer to 22%. Barry Kyan says a breakthrough can be found.
I have every confidence that we can, but it has to be, as I said, an informed one. It has to be inclusive of the three parties and their members. And I am committed to a resolution here. I am conscious of the obligations that are being placed upon the farming community.
At least 700 people in Donegal have been continuously on Job Seekers Alliance for 10 years or more. According to the Department of Social Protection, over 15,000 people nationally have been on it for at least a decade and over 30,000 for at least 5 years. Donegal has one of the highest figures in the country, along with Dublin, Cork and Galway. Breed O'Brien from the Irish National Organisation of the Unemployed says some people face discrimination as they try to find work.
It can depend on the community people are from. There are exclusions in our labour market. Very particular communities find it very difficult to find work. The traveller community in particular. It can also be where people live, the community they're from. Postcodism is a term some people use.
Smart technology is being used to monitor sustainable tourism on islands in the northwest and west. The study will measure the effect of tourism on islands, such as economic value, environmental impact, waste and water management, energy usage, access and transport, carbon footprint and the social and cultural impact. Donna Marie Doherty reports.
The Atlantic Technological University are collaborating with a total of 6 islands across the northwest and west, including Arranmore and Tory Island in Donegal. The data collection began this week using smart technologies and will continue until the end of the tourism season. The ATU will host the data of the research on an open source online database that is currently being developed to facilitate the dissemination of the data output. With the support of Fáilte Ireland, Údarás na Gaeltachta and the various county councils, the ATU intends to conduct this research on an annual basis and extend the data collection to more islands off the Irish coast from 2023.
Weather now today will bring a few bright or sunny intervals at times, but cloud will gradually increase, bringing isolated light showers. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Attention all staff. Clean up on aisle 4, please. That's a clean up on aisle 4. And Jacob, who's popped in for a pint of milk, has diabetes.
We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, halfway through the working week for many, the 27th of July 2022. How are you keeping? I hope you're well. A bright enough morning this morning. Hopefully it staves off and we're heading towards a drier spell of weather, maybe slightly warmer. Decent weekend. We'll keep our fingers crossed if that's what you're looking for. The lines are open for you right now. Emma and Donna Marie taking your calls this morning on 086 60 25,000. That's for WhatsApps and texts. Of course, if you wish, you can send your voice messages into that WhatsApp number if that's easier for you. 086 60 25,000. The lines are open for your telephone calls as well if you prefer to contact us that way. 074 91 25,000. If social media is your thing and if you want to watch the show instead of just listening to it, get onto our Facebook page, and get onto our website first and foremost, highlandradio.com. You'll see the link, watch live. It's in the browser there. You can watch in your browser, or go to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or on our Facebook pages, and particularly on YouTube. If you do enjoy the programme, if you do watch us there, if you give the page a like and a subscribe, it's very useful and very much appreciated. And emails to comments@highlandradio.com. Let's look at the Inish Times front page this morning. Donegal County Council's facing substantial repairs to infrastructure in East Inishowen following heavy rainfall and flooding in the Greencastle, Maville and Redcastle areas at the weekend. Heavy rainfall on Saturday night caused a number of localised flooding incidents, including the collapse of the parapet of a Redcastle bridge. The Donegal Post, Killybegs is cruising. The number of cruise ships visiting Killybegs this year is at record levels, and the outlook for the year ahead looks very positive. More than 12,000 passengers and crew have arrived on 13 ships so far this year, and another 8 are scheduled before the end of the season. I wonder how many disembark the ship into Killybegs and the surrounding areas. I know not little, but I know from time to time, if not all the time, tours and what have you are organised for them. But I wonder what percentage choose to disembark versus that choose to stay on. The largest ship this year was the P&O's Arcadia, which called last Friday with over 1,600 passengers, mostly from the UK. At 289 metres in length, it is almost exactly twice the length of Croke Park, its pitch, which is quite long, as we know. All right, that's a long ship. The Irish Independent this morning, a final deal to halve our carbon emissions by the end of the decade looks set to be delayed until September after the coalition leaders failed to resolve the impasse last night. And who's to say it won't be deferred a little bit further until it's under the stewardship of Leo Varadkar? Well, ministers continue to squabble over the finer details of the agricultural emissions targets, with political business now winding down for the summer break. Environmental groups and the Green Party's own chair last night criticised Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael's inability to agree to higher reductions over fears about its impact on Ireland's agri-food industry. But Environment Minister Eamon Ryan and Agriculture Minister Charlie McConalogue remain deadlocked. And, if we're not producing this film and this food, and this question's been put out there, we export an awful lot of our food to feed a lot of people. Where is it going to be manufactured? It feels a little bit like the banning of peat, where we stop the banning of peat here and then we end up importing peat. And it doesn't make any sense. These beef deals that they're looking at, we try and discourage farmers from rearing cattle here, yet we sign deals potentially to import cattle from Brazil. If farmers are cutting down here, let's say they do, and they cut down here, are emissions going to go up elsewhere, and a livelihood industry and culture lost here? Or if we stop producing food, do people elsewhere eat less? No, they don't. So I'd be very interested to find out, if we reduce our outputs, who's increasing their outputs? Because there's an awful lot of very, very hungry people on this earth. So there's not an abundance or an oversupply of food. We know that. So if we aren't producing the food, if we aren't producing the milk, and our emissions go down, are they going to go up elsewhere? In other words, is the only thing that's going to change is that you're moving the deck chairs around the Titanic, and it's Irish producers, Irish farmers, small farmers as well, the majority are, 70 odd cows in your average farm, I think. They're going to be put out of business or discouraged out of business, which is the same thing really. But where does this food get produced? Because we export so much of the food, we export more than we consume, obviously. If we don't make it, who is going to make it? And what does that mean? If this is a global situation, I would like to know that information before I decide, which side I might support in this. Well, today's the last scheduled meeting before ministers, this is of the Cabinet, before ministers are due to break for the summer, meaning the climate deal talks are now likely to spiral towards the budget in September. So it's again, maybe I just woke up particularly cynical this morning, but we're told, and I don't doubt it for one moment, that climate change and the threat to the environment and the planet and our targets it's the biggest show in town at the moment, behind housing and what have you. But it's not so big that they can just say, right, look, it's Wednesday, lads, we can't come up with a decision here. Let's sod off till September. It'll be all right till then. Whilst at the same time we are enduring their decisions on a daily basis, is having a terrible impact on many people's lives. So is it that important? It can't be that important if they're clearing off, probably jetting off, ironically, probably jetting off many of them on holidays. And we know the impact that can have on the environment. It's all hard to unravel, really. An awful lot of it doesn't make sense. Maybe it never will. 086 60 25,000 if you can help me understand. Right. Where else? Overhaul of rape laws to focus on issue of consent. This is the story in the front of the Irish Times. A person accused of rape will have to show they had an objectively reasonable belief that they had the consent of the victim to have a defence in law under new plans due to be approved by Cabinet today. Minister for Justice Helen McEntee will bring a memo to Cabinet this morning seeking to overhaul laws on consent knowledge and belief in rape cases. Under the plans, the new legislation will change the current situation where a person is not guilty of rape if they honestly believed they had the consent of the victim. The accused defence that they believed the woman was consenting, or man I presume, will instead have to be objectively reasonable. Effectively, this will mean that juries will take into account the steps the accused took to check whether the woman was consenting. There will also be a new provision in the legislation that self-induced intoxication will not be a defence to a charge of rape. In other words, and about time too, someone can't claim that they were drunk and they knew what they were doing, blah, 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 blah. That's going to be done away with. Have you a view on that? 086 60 25,000. Let's go to the Irish Daily Mail this morning. The Northern Ireland Protocol has created a feast or famine economy in the region, with some businesses struggling while others thrive, a UK parliamentary report has found. A House of Lords committee examined the post-Brexit Irish Sea trading arrangement, and it found that companies involved in trade with the rest of the UK were being hampered by added red tape, whereas those more reliant on doing business with Ireland and the wider EU were benefiting. The committee stressed an urgent need to resolve the issues created by the protocol and called on the EU and the UK to re-engage in negotiations. The committee's report comes amid a breakdown in relations between London and Brussels over the UK government's controversial plan to pass legislation at Westminster that would empower ministers to unilaterally rip up the bulk of the protocol. Also, it's the UK that voted for Brexit. It is the UK that negotiated the Northern Ireland Protocol. It is Boris Johnson and his government that put it to the people that there was an oven-ready deal. All the responsibility, the majority of the responsibility rests with the British government, I would suggest. The Irish Daily Star today, it's a positive story. Charlie Bird has described donating more than 3.3 million to charities following his Croagh Patrick climb as one of the most remarkable days in his life. The former RTE chief news correspondent, who was diagnosed with motor neuron disease last year, was joined by friends and family at the event in Dublin's Merrion Park yesterday. Mr. Bird thanked people across the country for their unwavering support as he presented 2 cheques, each worth 1.6 million plus change, to the Irish Motor Neuron Disease Association and the mental health charity Pieta. And well done to many of you out there who supported those charities as well. Your name is effectively also on that cheque. The Finn Valley Voice this morning, a Finn Valley-based knitwear designer and tutor, is the first craft person from Donegal to be elected to the board of the design of Craft Council Ireland. So you can read more from Sliam McGinn on the front of and inside the Finn Valley Voice today. We were talking yesterday about how many more nurses we need in this country to deal with our as we all grow old. We all will need more care. Hopefully more of us will grow older, and we hope that we've contributed enough throughout our lives that we don't have to beg for the state to provide care and cover for us. And I mentioned in passing, the problem is where are these nurses going to come from? Because already many nurses and midwives, either potential ones, are choosing different paths in life, or those that are trained end up travelling abroad to work. And it's only going to get worse because nurses and midwives are now leaving the healthcare system in droves as the cost of living crisis hits hard. That's according to the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation, who say that many of their members are driving costly distances to work because they cannot afford a home to rent or buy near their place of work. Yesterday, an ESRI report into public workforce requirements in public acute hospitals recommended that we needed nearly 9,000 nurses and midwives in the next 13 years. And now the INMO is calling on the government to take recruitment and retention measures seriously, providing more attractive remuneration for the nurses and midwives. And of course, I would imagine a better working environment, because the more leave, the more pressure is on those that remain. And I've heard it suggested in the past that, why don't people open a pub where you don't serve alcohol, and people can go out and socialise, but they don't have to endure people, sometimes myself, who've had one or two. But anyway, someone tried it. It hasn't worked. A hipster booze-free bar has applied for an alcohol licence because non-drinkers are shunning it. Boss David Tunks opened sober 5 months ago after becoming frustrated by the lack of enjoyable non-alcoholic tipples. But he's losing money as teetotalers do not go out and socialise like keen drinkers who steer clear of the hangover-free lagers, IPA beers, ciders, cocktails and wines in pool. Dave, who's 52, said, having an alcohol-free bar just excluded the vast majority of people. My research showed there was a market, but people aren't using it. I was wrong and hold my hands up. Those who don't drink don't necessarily want to go out and socialise in the same way. But listen here, controversial. Maybe that those that don't drink want to go out and socialise with those that do. Why would a group of people want to isolate themselves? Would you go into a pub specifically that excluded non-drinkers? Well, he's learnt the hard way. Hopefully he hasn't lost too much money, and I hope he recoups it back. But why would non-drinkers, per se, want to socialise exclusively with other non-drinkers? It doesn't make sense anyway. Rightio, those are some of the stories that are making the papers today. If you want to raise your own issues with us, tell us your own story. 074 91 25,000 is the number to call, or text or WhatsApp 086 60 25,000.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Dance the night away this Saturday night to Patrick Finney and his band in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town. That's this Saturday, the 30th of July. Doors open 9 p.m. DJ Stephen Doherty kicks off the night, followed by Patrick Finney and his band at 10:30. Admission only €15 in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town.
Trees, grass, allergies. You won't take me down. Don't let pollen ruin your plans. Say yes to life outdoors with fast-acting, long-lasting, 24-hour relief. Telfast Allergy. Now available over the counter from your local pharmacy. Telfast Allergy tablets contains fexofenadine hydrochloride. Always read the label. Distributed in Ireland by Clonmel Healthcare.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common, and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
It's where you live. It's where you relax. It's where you make memories. Treat your home to a visit to Cooney's Home Interiors. We have everything in store to help recreate your home. Choose from our extensive range of suites, tables, beds, mattresses and home furnishings for every room. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny. Style and perfection at incredible value.
The 7th annual Letterkenny Busking Festival is on this Saturday the 30th, with musicians and singers performing all along the main street. Entertainment starts at 2, and with buskers performing from 3 to 5, it's a great afternoon of street entertainment. The Letterkenny Busking Festival, this Saturday, July the 30th. See Letterkenny Busking Festival on Facebook for details.
All right, now, an addiction counsellor says the government should be actively seeking out problem gamblers and offering them help. It comes as the National Lottery annual report shows over €1 billion worth of tickets was sold in 2021. It's the first time the figure has exceeded 1 billion. The addiction counsellor I'm talking of is also a former Gaelic footballer by the name of Oisín McConville, a name everyone is familiar with. Good morning, Oisín. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
I've mentioned the lotto regularly on this programme as being a form of gambling. People don't really bite on it, if you know what I mean. But I'm not fantastic at maths, but I think it's around about for every man, woman, child, baby, 100-year-old, every single one of us on this island in the 26 counties, equivalent gambled €200 per head on the lotto last year. I think it's around about that. I mean, it's a incredible amount of money, and yet it's celebrated. I heard interviews on Morning Ireland, and it was like, yeah, it's fantastic. Business is booming, and it all goes back into the community.
Yeah, I suppose, whereas, the first thing to say is, we would all recognise that there's a lot of people who have been helped by the National Lottery and the spin-off and the 90% of the money that goes back into the community. And I think it's important to acknowledge that first and foremost, but also I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that there are a lot of people in this country, in society. We have a major societal issue with compulsive gambling, with problem gambling. And I think a lot of that emanates from the stuff that we would have seen as normal gambling, like the horses and the dogs and all those things. So I think you're right. I think the first problem is that it's not recognised really as an issue. You're talking about €200 per capita spend. The thing about that is that there's so many people who are not playing the National Lottery. So that narrows that, and that obviously extends the amount of what the spend is. And I think, people now are more aware of their spend around that. And I also think that, a lot of the cases that I am seeing now are not coming from the traditional sporting mechanisms as far as gambling is concerned, because we have so much access. Now, we have so much access as far as how we gamble, the things we gamble on. But also, as I say, the demographic has changed in that the people who are finding themselves in problem. I mean, the biggest influx in the Gamblers Anonymous are women between the ages of 25 and 45, which probably tells you a lot about where we are as far as gambling regulation and legislation is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost give up on online betting, because it's so intertwined with sport now, in between the biggest games at the start of them. Not necessarily even that the ads are easily distinguishable from the coverage, because it's sponsored. The companies are sponsored, the coverage is sponsored, the programs where people sit down and analyse the sport is sponsored by bookmakers. It's so intertwined. It's just a blur of. In other words, you can see how the likes of the taglines, it matters more when there's money on it. You know what I mean? You can see why so many young people, whether they're male or female, they just feel, well, that's what everyone does. If you're watching sport, you gamble on it.
Yeah, and I think as far as advertising, that's a good point as well. I think we're at saturation point when it comes to advertising. I mean, and again, the biggest problem with advertising is the zero regulation around it, and the fact that, a lot of this stuff is happening before any sort of watershed. I mean, it would be wrong of me probably to say that this is targeted towards young people, but it wouldn't be wrong to say that this is very attractive. As you said, the taglines, the people who are advertising gambling. I mean, a lot of these people are our sporting heroes. And I think, that in there lies the problem. Again, it comes back to, why are we not regulating this in the proper way, the way we've regulated other industries? And again, why have we not changed legislation from the 50s? I mean, if you think about how gambling has changed, as far as its popularity, but also as far as I already said, the way we gamble, and consider that we are still using the same legislation as the 50s, it just beggars belief, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's been normalised, and I'm not saying it's abnormal to gamble, but, going back in the day, you would slip in and out of a bookies, and the windows are obscured and all that type of stuff. And, now it's just, you sit at the bar and they'll take your bet. And I just have a concern that there's too much political interest and too much media reliance on the money coming from gambling, that the compliance has been bought to some extent, as I say, with politics and politicians, but I think particularly with the media. It reminds me of when they tried to ban smoking advertising in sport. The media relied, and the sports companies relied so much on it. It took an awful lot of time to change people's attitudes in that regard. And I just wonder if we're in that space now with gambling.
Yeah, I think there's a fear there. if you look at, there's 96 clubs in the English league, if you consider the Premier League and the other leagues, and I think 88 of those teams are linked with one gambling company or the other, and I think there's a fear there that if that link is broken, and as well, with TV companies, with the media in general, that where is the money going to come from? Where is the advertising going to come from? And the one I point to is the Formula One and how it was inexplicably linked with the tobacco industry. And a lot of people said that Formula One would not survive. Not only has it survived, but it's prospered. And I think that is the thing. There's a fear there that if we take the gambling companies out of sport, where is the it's the support for clubs and different things going to come from? But we have survived worse than that, and I think even if we get to the stage where, as I say, not to keep harping on about the point, but even if we get to the stage where we're able to regulate it in some way or educate, people around, what is happening, what are the pitfalls, what's the warning signs, what, are the possibilities should, you find yourself in trouble, where is the help, little simple things like that. And I think, the National Lottery, I think they have recognised it now as an issue, and they are willing to do something about it. And I think that's
just the only thing in relation to that.
Oisín,
you know much more about this than I do, and I don't want to contradict you, but I can't remember the gentleman's name. But I was listening to an interview he gave, and it was a soft enough question about gambling, and he said, we do more than anyone does. You can't. You can't use the app after a certain time at night, and this type of stuff, but the bottom line is, it and I know it, there are people going in and they're not betting on horses, but they're going in and they're buying scratch cards in the service station, or they're doing the lotto. But I think scratch cards is a particular sort of spontaneous thing because it's right there at the desk. They could be doing an awful lot more. They could maybe not have scratch cards where they are. They could stop with the push notifications every 5 minutes as well. I don't buy the fact that the lotto are doing half enough really than they possibly could be doing, Oisín, with respect.
No, I would agree with you. I think, they are in a very early stage of tackling this and having a look at this. And I think, there's a little bit done, but there's so much more to do. And I think, again, that comes back to, you talked about, political influence and the political hunger, to do something about it. I mean, we have a gambling bill that has been there from 2013. The gaming industry themselves have said, look, we're happy with this. All of the parties are in line, and yet there is no political will to introduce that, and that really tells you everything you need to know about how the link is, and the link is there between, like we talked about the link between sport, and gambling, but there's also a political link between gambling and what is going on as far as I say, legislation is concerned.
Yeah, and this is not about ruining people's fun or stop people having a bet or whatever, because many people can do it and enjoy it and step away and what have you. This is about not doing anything to help people who it becomes a problem for, and particularly what we seem to be actively doing, because and I've said it before, and I'm sorry to regular listeners to hear this, but from a very early age, in terms of playing FIFA online or any of those sports, you open boxes, you buy player cards, and you don't know what the players are until you open them, and there's that sort of reveal. And on social media you pull down and it refreshes, and it's like a slot machine. It has that, so young people, we're not giving them a hand here because they're being conditioned, plus being bombarded with the ads, they're being conditioned to sort of try gambling, think it's okay, and then what happens is that percentage of people, it becomes a real problem and can ruin their lives really early on, Oisín.
Yeah, and I think, that's exactly the thing. I think, when I started talking, when people asked me to start to go into schools and talk to kids, they were looking at me to go in to talk to, leaving cert age. Now, it's 12 and 13-year-olds because, as you say, they're being conditioned through different means, They mightn't necessarily see it again as gambling, but it's I suppose it's the gateway, to gambling. And I think, you've hit the nail on the head in that, a lot of kids have absolutely no chance, because by the time they get to 15 or 16, they're already conditioned. And by the time they're, 17, like, for example, when I was 18 years of age, I was already in addiction. Do you know what I mean? So I was making no informed decisions, at 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age. I wasn't making the informed decisions. And it's the exact same thing with, what you're after talking about. It's conditioning, it's a gateway into an industry. And I think, again, it's a major societal issue that is not being tackled in the proper manner.
Can you talk to us, Oisín, about, not that there's no typical scenario, but when someone comes to you, how are they feeling? How has gambling affected their lives, and how is gambling affecting those around them? And how often, for how long do people maybe, get rid of everything they have before they realise I need to get help? Is there a sort of a typical type of story? And I know an awful lot of people, and I think particularly mums and dads and granny and granddads might relate to this, because we get contacted by them. I know you do too, where there's a young person and they're at the wit's end. So, but for those that don't understand what we're trying to talk about and avoid here, what is an average case that comes to you, and how is their life?
Okay, so I'll give you a typical case around alcohol and drugs. So around alcohol and drugs, there is an opportunity at different stages to create an intervention within a family or friends or work circle or whatever it is, and that's because there's telltale signs. With gambling, it is of all the addictions, it's the most hidden. Okay, it's got the highest rate of suicide. And the reason why it's the most hidden is because of the ways we gamble now. So somebody who gambles, say, online, I mean, it feels virtual. Like, the money's real, it's coming out of your account, but it feels very virtual. I think the biggest thing about the way, people gamble now is that it's something that people have often said to me, it sort of sneaks up on them, that they realise they have a problem. But the biggest thing about gambling is that people only ask for help at crisis point. When I say people, I mean 99% of people only end up at my door when they're at crisis point. And when they're at crisis point, the money is gone, the job is gone, family is gone, the kids are gone, and all of a sudden, there's somebody who has worked for 20 years or whatever it is they are in we're talking about people right across the demographics. So people who are unemployed, right to high level executives who find themselves with absolutely nothing. And I think, that is the key. Would they also
be inclined to exhaust all lines of credit before they get to that point as well? Yeah. So if there's credit cards, overdrafts, that'll probably be used up, and then that's when the crisis is.
Huge levels of debt. Again, all relative to where that person is, what their job is, what their situation is. And I think, that's another thing. Another thing is that not only are they at crisis point, but they're in huge amount of debt. A lot of people only see one way out of that problem, and that is, unfortunately, to take their own lives. Because they don't want to admit it. Like, when I was coming towards the end of my gambling, the amount of shame and guilt and embarrassment that I had, that I was going to have to hold my hand up and ask for help, because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to show that weakness to any other human being. But I realised that was my only way out of the issue. So I think the biggest problem with gambling is that it's a crisis point when people go and ask for help. And by that stage, for a lot of people, as far as relationships and that, and forget about material things, money, as far as relationships and kids and, the house and all that sort of thing, that can be already gone by the time people are looking for help. And a lot of time, families have no clue what has been going on, which is an incredible shock to bring to somebody's door.
Yeah, because it can accelerate quite quickly, and maybe lies can be told and excuses can be given, and that job, they're supposed to pay me, but they haven't paid me, and it's 2 months ago, and that money could have been fitted away or whatever it might have been already. Then, as people... so in terms of the positivity then, Oisín, when people hit that rock bottom, and we wish they didn't have to go as low as that, how well do people respond to counselling and managing the addiction and being shown a path to a sort of a brighter future?
Well, the positive thing is that there are a huge amount of people who go into recovery and are getting well, but it is getting harder. And I think again it goes back to the way we gamble, and I suppose, like, for me, if I wanted to go back gamble, when I think about the way I gambled, I'll probably have to go to a bank machine. I'll have to take some money out. I'll have to get to a bookies. I'll have to walk in there. I'll have to rate the dock and everything. So there's a lot of situations there along the way where I can see, whoa, hold on, that's not a good. Whereas somebody who is used to maybe gambling online using an app, takes them 20 seconds to download an app, and then two taps and all of a sudden they're away. So recovery wise, it is that little bit tougher.
There's triggers everywhere, isn't there? Because those emails might still land in your inbox, those push notifications, and you can't switch the TV on.
I was away, Greg. I was away from gambling I'm away from gambling almost. I'm in recovery for almost 16 years now. And after 12 years, I got an email asking me if I'd like a free bet. Now, I had, self-excluded myself from all of that. But 12 years later, I got an email. I've never actually mentioned the gambling company because I actually don't even think that is that important. But I think the fact that is going on and that has happened, and if that has happened to me, how many other people have been enticed back into gambling by, that free bet? So, I mean...
And as well as that too, gambling companies are not making the billions that they're making on us betting €1 each way at the Grand National. It is those that are prepared to lose and double up and all the other sort of techniques that have made the casinos as successful as they are. I mean, the bottom line is they aren't successful unless they're engaging, enticing and holding on to people with a gambling problem. Because if you're good at winning, they'll exclude you quicker than they will if you want to be forgotten by them.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point. You made a good point that there are people out there who can gamble in a very social manner, in a very responsible manner. And I think that it's important to say that this is not about them. This is about the people who gamble and gamble compulsively. Like at many stages during my gambling, I won, infinite amounts of money that, would have, could have possibly set me up for life or whatever it was. But I was compulsive, so I had to go again. And I think, we have a study done in America reckons that for every 8 people that begin gambling, 1 will gamble compulsively or problem gamble. Yeah. Okay, so let's say we took that figure 15 years ago in this country. Well, it's probably quite a small figure when you consider how many people were gambling, how many people were walking into bookmakers. Now it's different. There are so many more people gambling on different things. We have introduced, as I say, a whole new demographic into that. What is seen as gambling? It's the bingos, it's the lottery, it's the sports, but it's also the scratch cards and all those things. So now 1 in 8 in this country is a huge figure. So therefore, like, and it's only a small percentage of those people who ever go and ask for help. So, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are really, really struggling and are at the mercy of gambling companies.
And the gambling companies, I have no sympathy for them, Oisin, and I won't hold you much longer. But, they might do the tagline, when it's the fun stops and all that crap. But if you happen to put a tenner on and you happen to win at 10 to 1 and it's £100 and you go, right, I'm going to withdraw that. It takes 2 or 3 days, and the withdrawal doesn't even really begin because you can reverse that withdrawal almost immediately. How many people get an app, bet €10, win 100, take the money out and close it? They know what's going on. They make it hard for you to remove your money, a lot of them. They make it instantaneous for you to lodge it. And they know you don't walk away. You go back. Because what is the psychology of gambling, Oisin? You talked about having moments in time where you had enough money, you never needed to gamble again because you had that one big win. Why didn't you cash out and walk away? And I don't think that's unique to your personality. I think it's the same for even the casual gambler. Yeah. They're not making money from the bookies. They're not. No one makes money, because if you win the 100 quid, drip, 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 they get it back, and they know their odds are in their favour.
Yeah, big time, and I think, that's, again, going deep into the psychology of it there, because, the human nature will tell you that, if something comes easy, you think that is going to be the way that it's going to be and it's going to happen. But also, I mean, that's the issue you have around an industry regulating itself. And an industry that is as damaging as the bookmaking industry regulating itself does not make any sense whatsoever in any world that you live in.
Oisín, thanks so much for joining us this morning, and it's been lovely speaking to you, and it's been very interesting indeed as well, and informative, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. Oisín McConville there, former GEA star and addiction counsellor. 086 60 25,000. Did what Oisín say resonate with you, be it you as an individual or you as the family of someone? Because we know it's partners and children, and mums and dads particularly are the group that often contact us saying, look at my son or my daughter, this is happening, that's happening. I don't know what to do. I can't help them. I don't know where to turn. And I know Oisín, by the way, has taken private calls off the back of contacts like that as well. It's not just when he does interviews like that there. I know for a fact that he has had conversations with people to try and help them make decisions and turn them around off the back of representations made by family members and stuff. That's the type of the person that he is. If you have any comment on that, 086 60 25,000 or call us on 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Give your vegetables the best start possible with Veggie Mix from Gortley Sales and Hire. Veggie Mix is weed-free for 3 years and is perfect in a raised bed, polytunnel or to improve your soil. Veggie Mix at Gortley Sales and Hire, Letterkenny.
For big name menswear at great prices, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top casual brands including Mishmash, Sixth Sense, Tommy Bow and Penguin. If you're going to a wedding or a big event, formal wear names include Rimassimo, Andre and White Label. Also a great selection of children's casual and formal wear in stock. Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com.
Cullen Fun Fair will be in Buncrana from Friday, July 29th to Sunday, 7th of August. Open weekly at 6 till 8 and weekends from 2:30 till 8. Come along and enjoy some family fun with Ireland's largest touring fun fair. Remember to hold on tight and scream if you want to go faster. Cullen's Fun Fair at the Shorefront Buncrana from July 29th.
The Bank of Ireland in Letterkenny currently have vacancies for welcome advisors. Working as part of a collaborative and dynamic team, successful applicants will have the opportunity to work closely with personal and business customers and build a career with the bank. Submit your CV to Yvonne Bowl in Bank of Ireland Letterkenny or email yvonne.bowl@boi.com.
I have great news for everyone who's looking for a good night's sleep. Restex Beds are looking forward to welcoming you to their brand new showroom at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. It's one of the biggest and best bed and mattress showrooms in the Northwest and has fantastic opening offers now in store. Restex is the most trusted name in beds and mattresses in the Northwest. Why don't you call in and get the bed of your dreams at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Become a museum detective at Donegal County Museum. Search for clues and discover more about the history of Donegal with the Museum Detective's Backpack. The backpack is free to borrow when you visit the museum and contains a series of activities for children of all ages to do during their visit. There are artefacts to find, stories to create, and puzzles to solve. Donegal County Museum is located on the High Road in Letterkenny, and admission is free. Telephone 074 91 Email museum@donegalcoco.ie or find us on Facebook. Donegal County Council, supporting our communities and protecting our heritage.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Now we're joined on the programme by Stephen Moffat of Bernardo. Stephen, thanks for taking the call this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, it's an important one too. A new survey has been carried out amongst 1,100 parents. And they've had their say on back to school costs, and it's telling us what we all know and what we're all living. And it's important these reports are done, by the way. But most of us are worried about meeting back to school costs. It's the perfect storm, really, isn't it? You know, things are getting more difficult for us. We're all very worried about how we're even going to heat our homes heading into the winter. Christmas is on a lot of people's minds as well. And before all of that, we have to face into really some quite big costs to get our children back to school. And very sadly, and I'm just going to say that a lot of schools are complicit in this. It's far more expensive than it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. We've always heard the rhetoric saying that it's free education system within Ireland, but clearly, you know, these survey results and other surveys gone before it have shown that it's not a free education system. Every year, parents are forking out hundreds, if not thousands of euros to get children into school. And for some families, you know, that's a huge blow every year. And particularly this year, and what parents are telling us this year, is that they're having to cut out in other essentials to meet some of those costs. You know, no parent wants to send a child back to school without a new uniform, without new books. And so parents are making sacrifices within the home on essentials to make sure that children do have those new uniforms and new books. We just don't think that's right. And we think there's steps the government can do to stop that.
I think the steps the government are obliged to do and are morally obligated to do. First thing, this voluntary contribution is not voluntary. It's nonsense. You know, we feel we have to pay because you keep getting the emails and you keep getting the texts. So it's not voluntary, it's obligatory. I know some people see it as voluntary. I think it depends on people's personalities, whether or not they feel they can stand up to the school on it, whether they'll be looked at a certain way, dropping their children off to the bus or to the school or whatever it might be. That needs to be done away with. Firstly, we need to know what it's spent on. I'd like to know exactly what it's spent on. I want to know how much of the school budget it makes up. Is there a surplus at the end of the year? I want to know that from my school and every other school as well. And when we have that information as well, then the government need to properly fund these schools so they're not asking parents and guardians who don't have the money for this money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, you know, ourselves and other organisations have called for, have said, you know, nationally we need to try and have a look at how much voluntary contributions is raised every year to see what the gap is between funding from the Department of Education to schools. Unfortunately, the government haven't committed to doing that, and it's made them, other organisations, try and go ahead and produce that figure themselves. We need to see what the gap is, you know, and we need to see how much of it is going on heating, on other essential costs, so that the government then needs to, you know, fix that gap. It shouldn't be left for families, you know, families who are telling us they're going out without essentials, that are feeling humiliated having to borrow from friends and families to pay for costs for these voluntary contributions. Because as you said, a lot of families, you know, don't feel that they're voluntary. They feel compelled. They feel that the stigma that would be associated with not paying for them, particularly in close communities, smaller communities, in which they might know, families and parents might know the local teachers, might know the school secretaries who's sending out that emails. So yeah, absolutely, voluntary contributions should not be asked for of parents who are struggling.
Or levies. Some of them phrase it as levies. What's a levy? You know, I mean, that's if the word contribution or voluntary is not even in the message or text, a levy is something you feel you're obliged to. So I think they need to look at their language as well. Secondly, if I'm correct, the Department of Education asks schools to make generic or cheaper school uniforms available. Schools, and the schools in my area here as well, need to explain why or what is the motivation for insisting or making it such that parents have to go to one particular supplier, no competition, pay a particular price. Who makes the decision that we're also going to have crested hoodies, which are not necessarily essential, but try telling a teenager why they're the only one in school without one. And now tracksuits as well, as you know, so it's not actually just a school uniform, a school jumper we're talking about anymore. It's this whole wardrobe of clothes. Now, tell us what the directive or the suggestion from the Department of Education was in this regard and when that was made, please, Stephen.
So in 2017, the department did go out and they sent a circular letter across to all schools suggesting that they make sure that there's an affordable uniform option. Now, they didn't go into huge amounts of detail of what that is, but there's no compulsion for schools to adopt that. You know, so school principals and school board of managements, they might have their own particular opinions on what a uniform should or shouldn't be, and you know they might want to have a crested uniform and look a certain way. We don't think that's right. We think, look, first and foremost, children have to be put first, and families and parents who might be struggling, make sure that there is an affordable option within all schools. So the government needs to take further measures to make sure that that happens and that schools abide by that. You know, we heard from parents in which, you know, this year they've been asked to purchase branded tracksuits for PE classes, so an extra 150 euro, when in the past they didn't have any sort of PE uniform whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, don't think
Parents
that's right.
need to, if the government aren't going to do this, we need to start getting ourselves onto, like-minded people need to start getting ourselves onto these schools' boards of management and get them to explain why. Because, you know, you can still have a crest. We can iron on crests or stitch on crests, whatever it might be. But if you allow parents to shop around middle aisles or wherever they might be to get a generic grey or maroon or whatever jumper it is, you know, forget the hoodies and branded tracksuits. I mean, that is just lumping insult, especially in a county like ours, which is the lowest disposable income in the country, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely. But when there's no reason or necessity to do it, we think, look, it's an easy win for government to come in to say that this has to be an affordable option for the benefit of children and for families who might be struggling. It's the reasoning or the justification behind keeping crested, you know, that aren't iron-on crested uniforms or branded uniforms, we really don't think defeats or would overplay, you know, the benefits that having affordable uniform options has for all children. No parent should be worrying about, oh, is my child going to, you know, scrape their knee and rip their new uniforms? Where are we going to get the money for that? Oh, we're going to have to go out with some other essentials, which is what they're telling us they'd have to do. And no child should be living in a household where their parents are anxious about that sort of thing. Parents should be worried or have any concerns. It should be focused on children's education and how children are being educated, not on whether or not they can afford new uniforms if a child rips them during the year.
Yeah. What's the difference between free school books and book rental schemes? Some of us are lucky enough. I think half the schools provide book rental schemes. I don't know why they all don't. But does that go far enough? Is there a big difference between book rental schemes and free books?
So book rental schemes are absolutely a positive thing. You know, it's a really good step forward. It takes some pressure off parents, but we don't think it goes far enough. And we think that children should be provided with free books. Now, what that actually looks like, you know, there's different ways, mechanisms of doing that. But there wasn't a national pilot. There was a pilot rolled out a couple of years ago that has run for a couple of years, working with a couple of hundred children or 1,000 children who would get free school books. You know, it means the children starting in September, they've got all their books paid for. They don't have to worry about it. It's equality across the classroom. All peers are at the same position. They all get to keep those books. They don't have to worry about with the book rental system, they've got to give them back. There is still a fee in charge for book rental systems, and you know, just that every child's at an equal footing, provided free school books.
Yeah, because obviously it's about how much it costs us, but it's also how it makes people feel. Now, whether they are between jobs or, you know, a two working parents household, it's how it makes them feel that we are struggling enough with everything, but to provide for our children. and completely unnecessary. The money we're talking about here, actually, in the wider scale of things, is pittance across the education budget or across the budget as a whole. This is a will issue. There's no will, because if the will is there, the way is there. This is a really easy problem for the government to fix if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen the government make, welcome strides recently. So, say, for example, the extra €100 that they found for the back to school allowance, really, really welcome that. That's going to help a couple of 100,000 children and over 100,000 families this year. So that,
that's if you meet the qualifying criteria, which many struggling people listening to this program can't actually qualify for that, when in any normal scenario, clearly they would qualify for it.
Yeah, no, there is absolutely some issues with the thresholds. But in terms of, they found the 20 million to do that. So we would estimate it's about 20 million to provide free school books to all primary schools, the children within the country. So if they found the 20 million to increase the allowance, I'm certain they could find the 20 million for the free school books for primary school at a minimum at a start. So it is an actual decision, that's being made. Look, can we find that money? Yes, we believe they can find the money, and it's the right thing to do, exactly as you say. So every child and every family having that sense of ownership over the books, that they're at an equal footing. We just think it's the right thing to do, and the government has again shown in other ways that they are making progress, say for around hot school meals or free school or the school meals program. Absolutely positive. Why can't they do it around free school books?
Yeah. Bernardo's campaigned heavily on this annually. It's perennial almost. Is there any indication coming from the Department of Education or government that they might say, right, you know what, this is the right thing for us to do. We need to do the right thing here.
Well, as I said, I mean, the targeted measure that they took around back to school allowance is really welcome. We think that's an acknowledgement that they appreciate the families are struggling. Similarly, with the further rollout of the hot school meals program, again, it's a welcome indication that steps in the right direction. We believe that the uniform issue doesn't cost the government anything. There just needs to be the will to say, look, principals, boards of management, this is what you have to do. And we think that's the right thing for them to do. In terms of free school books, we believe that they have, that there's a good positive indication that they had the pilot, that there's an evaluation of the pilot. That's stepping up.
My apologies. I interviewed Mary Coughlin about this 16 years ago. And we were going to be doing, and it was like, well, we're going to make sure that they don't change the books every year, so you have to get new books. So I'm with respect, Stephen, I'm going to believe that when I see it, because as I say, 16 or 17, could be even maybe 15, 16 years they've been talking about this. Listen, thanks so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
No, it's great having me on.
Take care of yourself. Thanks, Stephen Moffat of Bernardo's there. 08660 25,000. If you have a view on that, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe schools should continue to, certain schools, not all, should continue to do things the way they're doing. Maybe book rental schemes shouldn't be extended across all schools. Maybe the thresholds for back to school allowance shouldn't be widened. If you disagree, let us know. 08660 25,000. Back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Are you looking to make a bigger impact at work? Join the team at Optum in Letterkenny, where we're collecting the brightest people, places and ideas to create better healthcare. As one of our claims or appeals representatives, you'll make a meaningful difference, providing first-class customer service and support. Come to our virtual hiring event on August the 3rd to take the next steps in a career with Optum. Register today at uhg.hr/event. That's uhg.hr/event.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 07495 32575.
We can all see how conflict affects energy supply and prices. More than ever, we need to be mindful of how we use energy. By reducing your use, you can save money and lessen the impact. Here's how. Only heat your home to the temperature you need. Use appliances efficiently. and where possible outside the peak hours of 4 to 7 p.m. Consider walking, cycling or public transport for short journeys. Drive at lower speeds where safe to do so. Government advice and supports are available for homes and businesses to help you meet this challenge. Find out more at gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
For great food in the heart of Letterkenny's Cathedral Quarter, step into Dillon's Hotel. Using only the best local produce, Dillon's serve an extensive menu every day from 12. Perfect for a quick bite, a relaxed lunch or a leisurely dinner. Try the renowned 4-course Sunday lunch with full table service. Or if you work in town, why not pre-order and have your lunch waiting? Great food and service, 7 days a week at Dillon's Hotel Letterkenny, with live music every Friday and Saturday night. Visit dillons-hotel.ie.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The Environment Minister says he's hopeful Cabinet can agree on an emissions reduction target for agriculture today. A decrease of 22 to 30% must be set under the Climate Action Plan. Last night's leaders' meeting concluded without getting that figure nailed down. However, on his way into Cabinet today, Minister Eamon Ryan says he's keen to do that.
I hope we can close the difference and agree the approach today. This is very significant for every section of our society. And we've got to make sure that changes we make are for the better. Good for farmers, good for transport, good for energy, good for employment, good for protecting us against the cost of living. So it's taken a bit of time, but I'm hopeful we can get agreement today.
The HSE has confirmed that a nurse will return to Tory Island over the coming week. Concerns were raised over the level of medical care provision on the island yesterday, as residents have been without a nurse since Thursday last, as they are currently on annual leave. Islanders were without a nurse at Easter for a week also. The residents of Tory Island are advised to contact their GP during surgery hours by phone and to contact NiDoc out of hours for any medical concerns. In a statement, the HSE says GPs, NiDoc and the Coast Guard have been notified of this temporary arrangement. New laws on consent will be considered by the government this morning. The proposals put forward by the Justice Minister would mean someone accused of rape would have to show what measures they undertook to ensure consent was given. Self-induced intoxication could not be used as a defence in rape cases. If approved by Cabinet Ministers, the bill will be published by the end of this year. CEO of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, Nolene Blackwell, says the current law isn't strong enough.
No matter how bizarre a man's belief was in the consent of the other person, if he could persuade a jury that he honestly believed that consent was there, no matter how odd that was, he would be acquitted of any crime whatsoever and would walk out of court and would be free to do the same thing the following day.
A big cash reward and a commission of inquiry are needed to solve Michaela McAreevy's murder. That's according to the former Attorney General of Mauritius, Rama Valaydin. 27-year-old Michaela was killed on the Holiday Island in 2011 and no one has ever been convicted of her murder. Mr. Valaydin, who's a leading barrister, is very critical of the police investigation.
We have a bunch of government officials who are only playing politics with the case, but they have never wanted, in fact, to find the truth. They have acted sloppily. They have not really given any fund to the police or nominated the right person to do the inquiry.
Smart technology is being used to monitor sustainable tourism on islands in the northwest and west. The study will measure the effect of tourism on islands such as economic value, environmental impact, waste and water management, energy usage, access and transport, carbon footprint and the social and cultural impact. Donna Marie Doherty reports.
The Atlantic Technological University are collaborating with a total of 6 islands across the northwest and west, including Arranmore and Tory Island in Donegal. The data collection began this week using smart technologies and will continue until the end of the tourism season. The ATU will host the data of the research on an open source online database that is currently being developed to facilitate the dissemination of the data output. With the support of Fáilte Ireland, Údarás na Gaeltachta and the various county councils, the ATU intends to conduct this research on an annual basis and extend the data collection to more islands off the Irish coast from 2023.
Weather now today will bring a few bright or sunny intervals at times, but cloud will gradually increase, bringing isolated light showers. Highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, July the 27th. The death has taken place of Anna McLoone, Ducrow, Cloughan. Anna is reposing at her sister Rosie's home in Binmore, Cloughan. Requiem Mass in the Church of the Holy Family, Eden Infa, at 12 noon tomorrow, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. Family time from after the Rosary. And the death has occurred of Danny Gillespie, Altaskeen Road, St Johnston. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30, going to St Bathan's Church, St Johnston, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to St Johnston and Carrigan's Family Resource Centre, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio.
Loading at Ballybrit. And they're off. Best friends Tip and Bookie's favourite are quick out the gates. Oh no, each way banker's been pulled up and Dad's advice takes a fall. As new binoculars comes into focus, it's anyone's race. Down the home straight, it looks like a photo finishes on the cards. Selfie Absorb was close, but best friends Tip nips her at the post.
For our most comprehensive Galway races coverage, pick up your Galway Punter Racing Supplement. Free all this week with the Irish Independent. And independent.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, or good morning if you're joining us for the first time. If you're still tuned in at 10, don't forget you can watch the programme on our website, highlandradio.com. And sorry if I sound a wee bit judgy or opinionated on the last two topics, it's just ones that I'd be reasonably passionate about, and I just think there's more we could be doing and we're not doing. But anyway, my views don't really matter. Yours are the important ones. Hi, Greg. My son's starting secondary school in September. The school started back up the book rental scheme, which I thought was great because it wasn't running when my other son started 3 years ago. However, it's still €150 that I had to pay, and it was not optional. He must take part in the scheme, which does not include his extra option subjects. Yeah, but 150 is much. It's tough, and you shouldn't have to pay that. But it's less than it would be without the scheme. But they go on to say that 150 is only for the books. I still have to buy the workbooks for all the subjects. I've been through first year already, and I feel I could get the books only for less than 150. But the school says it's not optional. I have to pay it. So, and the question you have to ask, you already talk about having another child that's went through first year. What happened to their books? I'm not saying did you dispose of them, but did they not apply anymore if they changed? Morning, Greg. I've just received my daughter's book list for 5th year. I have 4 of the books in the house from her older sister, but I can't use them because they are apparently the wrong edition. And that was also part of that interview I talked of before the news that I did well over a decade ago. Why do the book companies change little bits of information inside the book? The book itself basically remains the same, but certain little bits of information are changed, which means that the book you had from a previous child now is not relevant anymore because it's an old edition, even though for the most part they are the same. But this caller goes on to say, I would send her in with them as I can't believe they've changed that much, but she obviously doesn't want to be the only one in her class with the wrong book. It's just so maddening. And that's it as well. And I think sometimes they know that. That we will do our best and we will sacrifice to make sure they don't go into school embarrassed because we're so hyper about how they're feeling as well now. A caller says, hi, a plain uniform is all that's needed. A school tie will tell the school of attendance. Black shoes, as the runners are far too expensive for some parents. Let's educate, not dress up. Indeed, and some schools would insist on black shoes for that reason. It's not all schools, by the way. Primary school teacher here. Schools are fleecing parents. There's no question about it. My school has significant money in its bank account, yet it still insists on charging parents a compulsory €40 arts crafts charge. Excuse me. The money's never passed on to the class teacher. Schools can be doing more. The spotlight should be on them. That comes in from a listener in a show. Voluntary education schools need to survive. The government treats them differently to other ETB schools, hence the shortfall needs to be made up. A principal of a voluntary educational school needs to be a great accountant. Education is extremely important and it costs money. But the Department of Education seems to think that some are more worthy of being funded than others, yet expect them to deliver the same quality of education coming in from Barry. But Barry, ETB schools do also charge voluntary contributions, do they not? Or levies? I'm open to correction on that. Greg, people can't afford uniforms at the moment. If it's affordable, then drop the threshold for those less well off. Indeed, and I hope I made that point for you on your behalf, because, you know, there's a lot of people operating here now, and I understand that I probably some of my comments wouldn't be popular with some of the local businesses that maybe rely on that industry, and I really apologise for that. But look at for the wider population, we could do something really quite meaningful if there was a will, because the way is there. Let's talk a bit about gambling here. The problem with gambling for teenagers and children, the whole thing has moved on to TikTok and social media. It's catching their attention and it's not helpful. It's very glamorized, and competition launches for cars, tractors, etc. So that sucks people in. Actually, that's another thing too. A lot of people gamble a lot of money on Facebook competitions. You know, big money as well. We didn't take account of that in the conversation. The first thing children think on when they earn money, that could be the first thing that comes into their head, spending money on these competitions or raffles. The seed is planted very early now and young people are growing up with it. That comes in from Councillor Michael McClafferty. But before they've come of that age, okay, and I don't want to over-labour this point, but the Xbox, the PlayStation, the Nintendo sitting in the corner, a lot of parents, guardians are being approached by the young ones and saying, look, can I have €5 for FIFA points, or can I have €5 for points for Fortnite? Okay, and when they use that money and purchase what they purchase on these games, you open boxes or whatever. You don't know what you're purchasing, okay? There's a risk to it, and that's the excitement for the young ones. So you give them their €5, whatever it is, then they don't know what player they're going to get on FIFA. It could be Ronaldo, or at the other end of it, it could be, I don't know, Peter Crouch or something. That's the gamble that's there for them, and they get excited if it's you'd have heard the cheers from the bedroom, I'm sure. And on Fortnite as well, it's whether they get a certain skin or they get a certain weapon or whatever it might be. So long before they've come of age to make their own money to gamble, they're already gambling with our money, and it's not a risk of loss gamble, but the gamble is there in terms of there is great reward. In their world, they can get a great reward. And I think that lays the foundation for what the councillor's talking about there. Right, okay. Morning, Greg. I agree with you. Where is the food going to come from if the farmers have to reduce their farming business? Something similar happened to the fishermen, and the peat doesn't make sense to me either. Thank you. Yeah, that's just... Before I decide how I might vote or where I might go, I would like a conversation about, if we're not producing the food, who is going to produce it? Are our emissions going to go down and someone else's go up? This is a global problem. That wouldn't make much sense if that were the case, because what we'd have is, and it seems to be the way, to get rid of fishing, to get rid of farmers, to get rid of being able to heat your house from the land, that type of thing. Plant trees and turn Ireland into a massive Glenveigh National Park. Is that the plan? Whilst we all move to the city to avail of €900 billion trams that probably will never get built. Let me see here. Greg, are we black and white dogs running around the dual carriageway coming into Letterkenny? Can you please read it out? It might be some of the houses off the road. Thank you. That came in a little while ago. Hopefully that's been resolved. That's about the fourth dog running on the dual carriageway that I've read out in about 2 weeks. So I don't know what's going on there, but be careful anyway coming in. We're always careful, I hope. Right, let's take a break for the bingo numbers, because we've so much to get through on the programme today. Stay tuned with us, by the way. Coming up later on in this hour, we're going to be talking to a listener who's been the victim of a cleaning scam. We're going to hear what's going on there. Later on in the programme, we're going to hear from a lady who wonders why she has to pay to book a ticket for free travel. Kieran O'Donnell will be with us talking business. Our Wellness Wednesday will be focusing on services for people with Parkinson's and their family. And we'll also hear from a caller who's trying to move bank on behalf of their father, and it's proving a real nightmare. All that packed into the next hour and 45 minutes. So don't tune out. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss it. It's your voice, your station. Back with more after the bingo numbers. Good luck if you are playing today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, July 27th. You're playing on a blue coloured sheet. The reference number is S8. It's game number 30. The numbers are 62, 34, the number 7, 18, 20, the number 9, 61, 55, 31 and 64. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
New this week in Home Store and More. All garden wall art is half price. But better hurry, because when all the half-price garden wall art is gone, it's gone. Also, all living room cushions are still half price. But when all the half-price living room cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Who still hasn't managed to get the barbecue out? Well, better late than never, because at Lidl we've got sizzling deals, like 4 Irish beef quarter pounders for $2.29, 20% off barbecue accessories, and Super Savers lettuce and corn on the cob, just 49 cents each. No excuses now. Get grilling. Lidl, more for you.
Shane Connolly Car Sales has relocated to Drumlonagher, Donegal Town. Besides offering quality used cars, we have a brand new state-of-the-art workshop for all your car service needs. At Shane Connolly Car Sales, we deliver straight to your door and offer excellent finance packages. Check out our social platforms or visit ShaneConnollyCarsales.com.
Cullen's Fun Fair now at the Shorefront, Buncrana. Come along and enjoy some family fun with Ireland's #1 fun fair. Funcrana, Wednesday, August the 3rd, all rides reduced. Open weekly 6 p.m. to late. Weekends 2:30 to late. Cullen's Fun Fair now at the Shorefront, Buncrana.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Okay, plans for a new €3.5 million visitor centre at Fanat Lighthouse have been welcomed as a great boost to the area. Plans have been launched for a €7,800 square foot centre that will include a cafe, a shop, a meeting room and an art workshop space. An upgraded car park and play area are also included in the plans. A public consultation is taking place today to discuss the proposed project at Fanavolte Hall. It's between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Aisling Leahy is Director of Vincent Hannon Architects in Galway and joins us now. Good morning, Aisling.
Hi, good morning.
Good to have you with us. Okay, so talk to me about what, from a design perspective, you're hoping to achieve here.
Yes, well, I guess thank you for having me on the radio this morning. Our brief from Udawas na Gaeltachta, who are our clients on this scheme, they rushed on board late last year to prepare plans for the new visitor centre. We appreciate there's an existing building there at the moment, but it's very much too small for the needs of the staff of the Lighthouse, but also for the local community. So working very closely with the local community group, We have been doing this since pretty much last December, and we've been very hands-on process to date. We've gone through 4 different layouts for the proposed type of building, and today is what we're presenting is a preferred option for what we all feel together is the most site-responsive approach, where one of the key things we looked at when we came to Fanat Head initially, early this year, was that as you arrive in Fanat Head towards the Lighthouse, the existing visitor centre building is very much sat into the landscape, and the key feature that you see at the headland is the Lighthouse, and we very much want to keep in that kind of keeping. So our design approach for this is very much to maintain that approach and where the new building sits into the landscape, and that's a very important design parameter for us.
Yeah, and it's because you want to enhance the visiting experience to one of the most beautiful areas, but you don't want to in any way take away from that.
Absolutely. It's really a case of striking that balance between the need for the existing but also future visitors, but also then maintaining what is the key feature at the moment is just trying to keep sustainable. And that's one of the key things as well, is that we want to make sure this is a year-round viable destination in its own right, where the local community can use it on the off-peak seasons, but then when it does come to the peak season for visitors, that it does very much cater for those needs. So the sustainability from a fiscal point of view as well as an environmental point of view has been very important for us from the outset.
All right, talk to me about the public consultation today. You want, obviously, as many people as possible with an interest to look over the plans, ask questions, have their say. Is that it?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're very much treating this as an open door policy. So anyone who happens to be passing by Fanat Hall, we'd very much welcome them to pop in. We're going to have a series of exhibition boards placed around the room, and it's really for people to come in, have a look at the boards, ask any questions. There'll be members of our design team there today, and we're there to listen but also to answer questions. They'll also have some personnel from Udo as well as the local community group that we've been dealing with all this time. So absolutely, it's really a case for us to listen and to just answer any queries that are there.
Okay, Aisling, thanks for your time this morning. Aisling Leahy, Director of Vincent Hannon Architects in Galway. Now, a serving Garda who carried out a 4-year campaign of harassment, threats, assaults and coercive control of his terminally ill partner has been jailed for 3 years and 3 months. Sentencing Paul Moody, who's 42, at Dublin Circuit Criminal Court yesterday. Judge Martin Nolan said that Moody carried out a catalogue of vile and humiliating criminal misbehaviour towards the 43-year-old victim. In her victim impact statement given in court on Monday, the woman told the court that Moody, who she met online in 2017, once told her the only reason he had visited her while in hospital was to watch you bleed to death. I was not just fighting cancer, I was up against a monster who would take away any chance I had of surviving, the woman said. In a 4-year period, Moody sent over 30,000 messages described in court as threatening, vile and abusive. In one 14-hour period in July 2018, Moody sent her 652 messages, amounting to one message every 19 seconds. And the content of those messages are absolutely revolting. Now, we are joined on the programme now by Dr. Marie Hainsworth, Donegal Domestic Violence Centre. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thanks very much for taking the time this morning.
Morning, Greg. Thank you very much for bringing me on.
This lays bare, of course, what people have to go through. It's worsened by the fact that this lady has cancer, and she feels that her precious time was robbed from her. And then there's been a reaction to the sentence, what she had went through over the period of time. 3 years and 3 months. I mean, firstly, the details of this case are shocking, but not unique, sadly.
No, and unfortunately, I think a lot of the cases that are making it into the courts that the DPP are prosecuting seem to be of this high level as well. The level of, say, texting, in the thousands, that's been kind of a common one across a lot of the cases. The fact that it's mixed with a multiple of different offences, there's a lot of assaults, there's a lot of threats to kill, there's a lot of, coercive control, but it's not just one item at all. It seems to be a whole combination. The cases are incredibly complex. And if you've probably seen one of the reviews there, I think the pages of her statement amounted to something like 256 pages. So that's an awful lot of time that she has had to spend going through documenting with the Gardaí and for them to collate evidence to bring this case. So, these are incredibly complex, high-level cases that are coming through at the moment.
Yeah. And what does that tell you about how we are investigating, prosecuting? The last time we talked, you did mention the fact that there was other elements. It just wasn't coercive control, and here we are with a case that really makes your point incredibly strongly, Doctor.
Yeah, I think we're probably now at a time where we need to do a review of the coercive control legislation. I'm not sure the legislation was ever designed to deal with this level of complexity. Certainly when you look at the sentencing, it's a maximum sentence of 5 years. And then the judge is saying, well, I had to take into account that he...
Okay, I think we might have lost our connection.
Said he was not guilty, or he pleaded guilty in the end. But the reality is that was something done between himself and the solicitor. They knew. Yep. So, at the end of the day, I think we do need to review the legislation.
Yeah, unfortunately, the connection is just not perfect with Dr. Hainsworth. I'll just hold it for a moment in case it improves, because I also want to... talk to her about new laws. You are with me, Dr. Marie. Yes, indeed. Is there anything we should add as it relates to that finding? I mean, you've touched on the complexity of these cases. You've touched on the sentencing. I mean, people are upset that he's able to retire, that he will retain his Garda pension. But really, I suppose that's somewhat outside the scope of the law.
It's outside the scope, but that's what I'm saying. We probably do need to review at this point the coercive control legislation, because I don't think when it was put in place, I don't think they envisaged that the amount of cases and the complexity of cases coming forward would be of this level. And I don't think, maybe especially in terms of the sentencing, I think we now need to put in place a structure of different levels. And yeah, like you said, I mean, for anybody, if you're convicted of a crime, there's implications in terms of work. You'll obviously lose the job, but beyond that, we don't have any control over what else happens. We wouldn't if he was in private business or anything else. So, there are things that I suppose victims are always faced with, the unfairness of it all, in terms of what they went through compared to what the person committing the crimes is going to go through. So at the end of the day, I do think, we've probably got enough cases now that we can begin to look at what is actually happening within the courts and what we need to do to make this easier for victims to come forward, easier and clearer for judges in terms of sentencing, because they are tied at the end of the day to whatever they down in law. And then also clearer for Gardaí, so they know what they need to do and maybe how they can make even collating the evidence a bit of an easier process for victims, a bit more victim friendly and a bit more victim focused. And then that the DPP has a clearer way of saying, yeah, that's enough evidence. So I think we probably do need to do a review at this stage.
Does a case like this encourage victims to come forward or discourage them? And I know it's very personal to each individual, but what would your sense be? Would someone who is a victim of this type of crime go, you know what, should I put myself through that? The extent that I have to recount everything that I went through for what may feel like a slap on the wrist? Or do they say, well, you know what, the guards investigated a guard, they got to the bottom of this, and this man's going to lose his liberty for over 3 years? Do you think we could pick a pattern at whether or not people might be encouraged or discouraged off the back of something like this?
I think that people are more encouraged because not only are they looking at it, but also everybody else around. So support services like ourselves, the Gardaí themselves are seeing their own cases coming forward and actually being, getting convictions out of it. So that's a great kind of morale booster, and it does reinforce it's worth doing this for them. So they're more likely to support victims. They're more likely to go out to a domestic violence call out with this in mind, at the back of the mind. And for us as well, once we know and once solicitors see that these cases are getting through and they are getting convictions, you're just getting more and more people on board that will actually work around a victim to put them through the process. So I think it's not just victims that are seeing it. I think it is, what's important is that the whole backup system is seeing that and willing to move forwards. I think it is good that, people, we often hear from our own clients, oh, well, he's a guard or he's got a friend who's in the guards or a relative in the guards, so we're not going to get any further forward on this. And I think this case does prove, no, that's not the case, I think the guards are very clear about this. They are well aware that, it's going to be some of their own that they're investigating and that that's not going to be an issue. Or if it is an issue within a local station, that you can move to another station, there is an understanding of that. So
okay.
they're all...
Right, we also read today that the public will be kept out of courtrooms for all sexual offences trials under a series of sweeping reforms concerning rape prosecutions. Justice Minister Helen McEntee today will bring a memo to Cabinet on the Sexual Offences and Human Trafficking Bill aimed at strengthening protection for victims. The reforms will also make it easier for a jury to test whether an accused person honestly believed they had consent, and will rule out any defence that a perpetrator was intoxicated at the time. Do you welcome these measures if adopted by Cabinet, and why might it be important?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I welcome any changes because I think we are moving forward with a greater understanding of not just the impact in terms of victims, but just what it needs to go through. And rape and sexual assault cases are incredibly notorious for having low rates of reporting, low rates of going through the courts and very low rates of conviction. So definitely there's been a call for a long time that the whole process needs to be restructured. And classic defence lines of, I was intoxicated, I wasn't in control, it wasn't my fault, have kind of been accepted because there's been no challenge to that on any kind of legal basis. So at the end of the day, it's been one solicitor fighting another, and the victim has been very much put on the front line, which is hugely unfair and very traumatising for victims, and with the end result that not many victims want to go through this process. And many would say that it's almost like being raped again, going through the legal system. So any reform at all, again, we need to monitor it. We need to make sure that it does do what it intends to do. And if there's any, point at any stage in that where we find that actually this is not actually helping victims, then we need to be open to looking at that again.
Will this remove, to some extent, victim blaming in the courtroom?
I think it'll go some way to start addressing it, and to realise that there has to be an onus of responsibility here in terms of people's behaviour. And it can't just be about, the victim was the one that put themselves in it. The perpetrator has a role and a responsibility here. And I think up until now, the courts have never really viewed it that way. Sexual assault and domestic violence are different crimes, I think, than, say, assault crimes or, what the legal system was originally intended for, which is very kind of black and white, simple kind of assault charges. So, we're beginning to look at the complexities of what actually goes on in these cases, often where there are no witnesses. So, what do you do where you only depend on two people? And it's always gone on the basis of, we will give doubt to the perpetrator, and
do we have to be careful, though, because as you say, often it's the testimony of two people. We don't want to switch the balance too far in another direction, though, do we? Is that a concern you might have?
It might be a concern way down the line, but at the moment, as I say, the statistics are clearly in the line of, very few cases actually make it to court. And oftentimes that's because it's quite a grueling process going through the evidence giving, actually having to relive the situation. And the guards who do the interviewing and the solicitors, they're very expert at it. They can tell, what victims are saying. They can tell whether it's genuine or it's not, and by the time they've gone through all of that process to actually get it into court, it's a very challenging and traumatic experience. So at the moment, no, we're not getting anywhere, where victims are kind of coming forward, just making stuff up on a whim and going up and standing in front of a court. It's too complex a process to get to that. So we don't have that worry at the moment, no.
Okay, listen, thanks for your time as always. I really appreciate it. Dr. Marie Hainsworth there of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back with a piece of music before 11.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
This time of year, we're all thinking about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleet Wood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleet Wood would, naturally.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on, with up to 50% off all mattresses, with 0% interest-free finance and terms up to 4 years available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself a better night's sleep. Visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park Derry and Sligo Retail Park Sligo.
Gonna be a great day. Ain't nothing gonna stand in my way.
Are you ready for a role or a career with one of Ireland's leading food companies? Due to a further developed business base in Donegal, Glanbia are looking for milk agents to service shops, food service and door-to-door customers in the Letterkenny, Ramelton and Ballybuffet areas. To apply for this exciting role, forward your CV to pburns@glanbia.ie. That's pbyrnes@glanbia.ie or call 087 25 33054.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Please wish Eileen and Frank Corrin a very happy anniversary. They're 57 years married today. That comes in from Gina. Also, Caitlin McDade, Corrin, 8 today. Happy birthday from Nanny and Da Glacken in Dewish. They're sending lots of love into you. Also, hi, good morning. Could you play a very special request for a brilliant couple who got married today? They're getting married today in the cathedral in Derry. The special couple is Rebecca Smith and Adam Warnock. Wishing them a very happy day and can't wait to see them all. Thank you. More than happy to do so. And another one for you, Caitlin. Happy 8th birthday to Caitlin McDade, Coleraine. Best wishes from all the family. Okay, we'll be back with much more on the 9 till noon show. But we're going to take a wee bit of break from music. Here is our Ultravox.
We walked in the cold air.
Okay, that is Ultravox there and Vienna. A harrowing tweet which we saw on Twitter, and it reads as follows. And my uncle went to Galway 4 times last week looking for help with his mental health. He spent over 12 hours waiting there one day only to be sent home because he wasn't severe enough. Saturday, he killed himself. And our thoughts and sympathies are with that gentleman and his family and friends. And unfortunately, stories like this are not unfamiliar. Rachel responded to this and is good enough to join us on the line now to discuss this. Good morning to you, Rachel.
Good morning.
I mean, when someone has to lay it out like that, it's words in a tweet or a Facebook post, but it's their life. It's devastating. It's so impactful on them and those around them.
It is. It's horrendous that it comes to this. The services are just chronically underfunded. They're not fit for purpose. It's just horrendous that people have to go to that length and feel like they're not even being listened to. They deserve the same care that people would get if it was a physical, mental condition.
Rachel, the first thing we do is we encourage people, and they still should, by the way. We encourage people to seek help, to to reach out, to make that call, go to your ED or wherever it might happen to be. But when we offer that advice, the expectation is that once they follow through on that advice, that everybody gets the care that they deserve and need at that time.
Yes, of course. And the thing is, staff are so burnt out. They're chronically underfunded, exhausted. It's just constant firefighting, and the services are so limited by bed numbers and services available. Even, it's just horrific and very, very sad that that the suicide numbers in Donegal are rather high. For 2021 alone, there was 399 deaths of completed suicides. That's astonishing to me. There are 399 people that didn't need to die if they were able to get the help and the services they needed to make themselves better.
Have you ever wondered, Rachel, before we talk about the services that are there and what needs to be improved? You asked the question in your reply, how many lives need to be lost before action is taken? And we've seen, right, say for instance with the recent reaction to the COVID pandemic, we did so much and spent so much money to prevent the loss of life, and in terms of the global response, we did very well in that regard. But why then do the powers that be, the health minister, or NEFIT or whomever is there, why do they not convene and say, we have an epidemic here of poor mental health with terrible outcomes and an incredible loss of life? We need to do something as drastic as was our response to that other health emergency. What is the thinking or psychology or logic to that, do you think?
I honestly think if it's not on their front door and it hasn't happened to them, then they just don't get it. They don't understand it. Unless you're working in the service and you see the day-to-day, how bad it is, I don't think they're ever going to get it when they're sitting up in the dial and they're just signing off on policies and laws. They're not actually seeing the impact that it has firsthand.
Do you think also there's an element of with death by suicide that it is, and understandably, we don't hear about them all, obviously.
That's it.
Also, it's a very personal matter. Each family will deal with it in their own way. We have figures as it relates to, and an awful lot of effort to try and lower the figures as it relates to fatal road traffic collisions. You can, but the government do know what's going on, and the HSE do know what's going on. So we can only conclude, can we, that because it's kind of under the radar, then we can spend the money elsewhere. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, that's correct. And also the stigma that's attached to mental health. I know in the last 10 years alone, there has been a lot of work put in, and great work at that, even with the implementation of suicide nurses in Donegal. They're called SCAN nurses. I know at least there's 2.
Okay, we've lost.
Again,
I'll
we're
have you
only
back.
two
Yeah.
people.
Sorry, I lost you for a moment there, but
Sorry.
I'll have you back now. Can you talk to me a little bit about your experience of working across various services here in County Donegal? Like, where are we at, and where do we need to be? Where are the failings?
I just think overall it's more a medical model when there's not even for acute services, there's not even a psychologist in acute services that can work with the multidisciplinary team to, give a holistic treatment where it's more about medication and getting them better. Absolutely, that has a critical and really, really important role. But if you're just medicating the person, but they're not actually getting to the root of the problem, it's not going to solve the full thing. And with the waiting list we have for primary care services for, mental health, you're waiting 6.
Unfortunately, I want
to. And when you're already fighting,
again, we had a slight drop out, but it's such an important issue. You were telling us how long you have to wait for service. Sorry, it's on our end, Rachel. It's not your responsibility. I'm sorry about this.
Fine.
But you were talking about the wait.
Yeah, when when it's 6 months to a year and you're waiting that long for a service, some people that's just incredibly overwhelming. When you're so unwell already, it's an uphill battle, and people may just think, God, do they even want to help me? And it's just people are like, I've seen people begging for help and begging for counselling and therapies when they're not able to afford private care. Like a lot of people are not able to afford it. You're coming from a place of privilege. If you can afford it, it's expensive. And if you're lucky to get services, it might be 6 or 12 sessions max. Some people, that's not enough. I just think it needs to be scrapped and overhauled entirely to give a service that people deserve, and it's going to work really, really well with them. And I know mental health professionals, they're doing their best, and there's been a lot of good work put in over the last number of years, but it still could be better overall.
And sometimes you just feel like we're going backwards. Even say, for instance, maybe your first port of call would be to turn up somewhere. Now you have to go to the ED. And I've spoken to people who have taken family members there, and they've just got up and walked out because they're triaged, and they're triaged sort of in the context of someone with a twisted ankle, someone suffering palpitations, someone who's had a brain injury. Do you know what I mean? And I know of cases where people were there, walked out, and unfortunately, and it's a case in point too with the tweet I mentioned earlier on, they never survived.
They didn't survive, no. And, I do believe there should be 24/7 self-referral for people that are experiencing thoughts of self-harm and thoughts of life's not worth living, because that's just as critical as somebody coming in with a heart attack at times. They might not have the protective factors to keep themselves safe. And if that's the case and they don't have that, it is critical.
So it needs a root and branch overhaul then, does it? It's not about more staff. It's not necessarily about more funding. Do we need to rip up what we have and implement something new altogether? I'm not sure if this will be this new Sláinte Care, if this forms part of that. But we've been talking about Sláinte Care for years now. These are lives being lost daily, as you pointed out in the figures you referenced earlier on. This just needs to be treated like this is a national emergency.
It is a national emergency, and there is staff leaving in their droves too. Like I work in Derry at the moment, but it's just a case of people are just so burnt out that they just need out. Like one of my colleagues said to me the other day, the only thing I look forward to when I come to work is the end of the day, because I just feel like I'm on edge all day because of the lack of staff and just the sense of panic.
And do you know where that's felt as well too, and I'm sure you're aware, Rachel, is organisations that maybe intervene, rescue organisations that maybe save someone before they attempt to take their own lives, or at some point in that process. And they struggle. What do we do now? We've stopped this person jumping, right? And I don't want to upset anyone with the language, but these are the typical stories. We've stopped some. They just wait for the police to come, and then the police takes them away. What happens next? Well, they've engaged with those people down the line. Nothing happens. There is no sort of pathway. There's no pathway to try and make that person better, or it's not a very good pathway once you've actually stopped them on the brink of trying to take their own life. And those are the people who volunteer their time to try and save these people.
And it's terrible that it's come down to that. People having to volunteer. I just feel that the services could be doing more. And again, I know people that are working in the services are doing their absolute best, but they can only do what they have resources for, and again, we don't have the services for people that are, needing that help immediately. If there's no beds in any acute settings, they have to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and
and in some cases they just get sent home from the ED. And I know there is like a mental health liaison officer in ED, but to my knowledge, it's not a 24-hour service. I think it's a daily service.
Yeah.
And that could be a change as well, and have an area in ED for people that are experiencing, them thoughts and self-harm. I think it could be, looked at.
And I want to talk about the families I want to talk to families as well, because mums and dads that do everything they can to try and get maybe their son or daughter to go and seek help, brothers and sisters, nephews and nieces, all of these people are so severely impacted then when the person, especially if they tried to get help, goes on to complete a suicide, and they're left with the loss, the grief. They're also left with anger towards the state, towards the HSE, towards the services, that we did everything we could. We got the person to the front door to try and get help, and that help wasn't really there. And they have all of that to deal with for the rest of their lives. Their lives are changed forever. And that mixture of emotions, it's unbearable, and that's what's left behind also.
Absolutely. Like the generational trauma that causes is absolutely heartbreaking. A very close friend of mine, I was speaking to him about a very close loved one. I don't want to say that's their story to tell, but I was speaking to him and I says, how do you feel about it? And he says, it didn't have to be this way. And them words have always stuck with me. It didn't have to be this way. If there was help there and the person had got help, they would still be here to see their loved ones grow up and do all the incredible things that they have done. And the trauma that has caused to the entire family circle is just astounding to me. And I do think that from a very young age, schools should have, psychology services and to teach kids about mental health, how to mind their mental health, what to do if they're not feeling great. And I know Donegal's social prescribing is doing excellent work, within schools at the minute, especially secondary schools. But again, they're limited with their time and staffing and the availability they have because they have a large area to cover. But I think it should be in-house in every school, that there should be someone that can teach kids how to deal with it, what they can do, because I left school 15 years ago. There was none of that. We didn't even know how to go about any of that.
But I just wonder sometimes in our schools if we are identifying issues, but not actually helping young people with them. I think we've got very good in schools about talking about things and saying this might be where you're at. But then what happens? The child maybe go back into the house and the parents don't have an understanding. You know what I mean? Like I just hope we're not identifying problems in children, and then there's nothing to follow up, and in a way, accidentally and without intent, exacerbating an issue.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think overall, the education on mental health is getting better, but the older generations still are not getting it entirely. So some people are fantastic and they're making the effort to learn, but I think having a psychologist in the school that a child can go to and go, hey, I need a little bit of help here. You know, I think it would make a difference. I know as a teenager with, you know, trying to figure out, you know, mental health issues and things like that, I would have found that helpful because I only got diagnosed with ADHD at 30 years of age because I paid for it to be diagnosed, but there was no services there for that help, you know.
Rachel, what stops someone like you walking away as well, looking at different career paths or working in an alternative area, even within healthcare? I mean, because, you know, you've talked about an awful lot of your colleagues choosing different pathways, and we see it too in right across the board in medicine at the moment. Nurses, midwives walking away or leaving this country. Like, what keeps you from not pursuing something else? In other words, you're trying your best in a dysfunctional system. And I'm sure that has to be frustrating. You wouldn't be speaking to me right now if it wasn't. So what stops someone like you going, you know what, I can't do this on my own. I don't see any change in the near future. I have to look after myself and my own well-being. I'm going to choose a different career path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just, it comes down to the patients. I love meeting my patients, and I love being able to learn their life story. And some people you meet are so incredibly interesting. Oh my goodness. You know, some of the people I've cared for are incredible and have had very, very interesting lives. But also I just love being able to get to know them and help them. And for me that you know, if I help one person, then that for me is a good week.
Yeah, and that's brilliant.
You know,
and I just hope that the governments, be it north or south or wherever they are, aren't exploiting that. They aren't relying on you seeing it as a more than a job. Do you know what I mean? And I just wonder if those that are left are those that's what they get from the work, rather than paying, you know, I mean, obviously we all have to pay our bills and a mortgage, but, you know, I hope, same as with carers, that we aren't exploiting the goodwill of people and the passion and care of people like yourself, Rachel, and that's evident.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that's why, in the end, I went to work with an agency, because, you know, you were working all these hours, you're not getting to see your family, you were needing to work them hours to pay your bills. So in the end, you know, I just went with an agency because, yes, the wages are higher, which meant I had a better work-life balance, because, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup, I've come to find out. You know, you got to look after yourself 100%. In order to look after somebody else.
Yeah. I'm still able to.
So I think that's important, and staff getting, you know, a good wage, I think would be a long way to helping, you know, some people, that they're not stressed about how they're going to pay their bills.
Okay.
You know,
Rachel, listen,
you see that.
I just have to take a break for the news at 11. I really appreciate your time this morning and helping us highlight this issue. I really do. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Take care, Rachel. Okay, my apologies. We have to take a break for the news.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
It's the 50% off mega summer sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring, outdoor slabs, cladding and bathware. Everything in store has been slashed in price. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring, 50% off mega summer sale. Stores nationwide. Sale extended till Bank Holiday Monday.
Is your current car ready for change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town. Choose from their Skoda range, including the Fabia, Scala, Superb, Karoq, Kodiaq, Kamiq, Octavia and the all-new electric Enyaq. Now available for delivery. All fitted with the latest technology, Skoda Connect, with a whole new range of simply clever features. DMG Motors have made buying a new car affordable with finance available on all new vehicles. Test drive the new Skoda today. Call 97213996. Skoda, made for Donegal.
Tesco Clubcard is the power to lower prices on barbecue essentials like Fire Pit Ultimate Burgers and Jumbo Sausages 600 gram and Buffalo Style Wings 500 gram, any 3 for €10. Plus Coke Zero and Diet Coke 24 by 330ml packs, now €10 each. It can't stop sticky wing fingers though. Nothing's that powerful. Lower the cost of your shop with your Tesco Clubcard or app. The power to lower prices. Tesco. Every little helps. Product subject to availability. Excludes express stores.
Dergfest Castle Derg, Saturday the 30th of July. Featuring Sigma, KC Lights, plus support acts. All under the Big Top Tent. For ticket information, check out Dergfest Music Festival Facebook page. This ad is kindly sponsored by Castle Glass, Castle Derg.
The 7th annual Letterkenny Busking Festival is on this Saturday the 30th, with musicians and singers performing all along the main street. Entertainment starts at 2, and with buskers performing from 3 to 5, it's a great afternoon of street entertainment. The Letterkenny Busking Festival, this Saturday, July the 30th. See Letterkenny Busking Festival on Facebook for details.
Okay, coming up, hopefully we have an hour as interesting and busy as the two that went before it. It is 11 o'clock here on your number one local radio station. This is the 9 till noon show. Let's take a break for a news update and say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There's calls for a review of coercive control legislation. The manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Centre believes there needs to be an overhaul due to the amount and high level of complexity of cases coming forward. Yesterday, Garda Paul Moody was jailed for coercively controlling his girlfriend over a period of 3 years. The Taoiseach has refused to be drawn on whether an agreement on agricultural emissions will be struck today, despite the Environment Minister indicating it could be. Micheál Martin is discussing the matter once again with Cabinet colleagues today. It comes after a leaders' meeting concluded last night without nailing down a concrete reduction figure between 22 and 30%. The Health Minister says a bill aimed at creating safe access zones will cut out inappropriate protests towards abortion patients and accompanying staff. Health Minister Stephen Donnelly will bring a memo to his colleagues today. He hopes to have the bill scrutinised and through all stages into law by the end of the year. The HSE has confirmed that a nurse will return to Tory Island over the coming week. Concerns were raised over the level of medical care provision on the island yesterday, as residents have been without a nurse since Thursday last, as they are currently on annual leave. Islanders were without a nurse at Easter for a week also. A big cash reward and a commission of inquiry are needed to solve Michaela McAreevy's murder. That's according to the former Attorney General of Mauritius, Rama Valaydin. 27-year-old Michaela was killed in 2011 and no one has ever been convicted of her murder. And a public consultation on a new €3.5 million visitor centre at Fanat Lighthouse is being held today. The 7,800 square foot centre includes a cafe, shop, meeting room and an art workshop space, as well as an upgraded car park and a play area. Plans will be on view at Fanavolte Hall from 4 until 8 p.m. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Okay, Michaela, thanks very much indeed. Okay, let's get to some of your comments before we take a break. And it's on a couple of issues we've been discussing so far this morning. This listener says a three-year sentence was handed out to a male who tortured a female suffering with cancer. It's yet another insult to women, in my opinion. This is stomach churning. Blaming mental illness is pathetic. Will we ever see fair play for women? Hi, Gregory. The Garda, in my opinion, the judge who handed down that sentence has committed a serious... Well, I can't read what you're going to say because it's an accusation that's unfounded, really. But you're not happy with the sentence handed down by the judge. You believe it's another... I'll have to, as I say, I just have to choose my words a little bit carefully. I hope you understand. You believe this is adding insult to injury to this person, saying something has to change. Yep, he had at his will 5 years was the maximum he could hand down. He handed down just over 3 years. I think the new rape laws infringe the notion of innocence until proven guilty. I think Dr. Hainsworth pointed to this. What has to be gone through before a case goes to court is such that you would hope that, you know, the DPP and all have considered that there is a case to answer, and both then obviously have their opportunity to tell their sides of the story. Mental health in this country is a joke. No services should be locked up for COVID. No mental health services should have been locked up for COVID, I understand. All surgery should have 24/7 access to mental health support. Every patient should be assessed by a mental health practitioner at the time of the appointment, because in my experience as being a nurse, a lot of people who have issues, it's down to stress or emotional trauma. An MRI once a year would also help eradicate the issues and alleviate they're running to surgeries. The MRI would MRI pick up someone who's depressed or had suicidal ideology? I'm not sure it would. Greg, a 6, 5 and 2-year-old have weekend access with their father, I presume it is. He speaks quite ill of me in front of them, and it's causing my children serious distress. My son bursts into tears and can't sleep because he feels in the middle. Is there any services I can turn to help with this? Okay. This is an important one out there, and there's lots of you out there who've had experience of this. So it's a mum, presumably. They've got 3 children, 6, 5, 2. Their former partner, has weekend access to them, and that person, for some reason, not caring about the children, because I can tell you, if this person cared about his children, he wouldn't be speaking ill of the other parent in this situation in front of them. And it's having an emotional impact on the son, who's bursting into tears. And this other parent is not able to sleep themselves because they feel in the middle. What is your advice? Are there any services? Where can that person turn? Because it's clear they perhaps more so have the children's best interests. I mean, for crying out loud, we can fall out. We can do all manner of things that ends a relationship. And as tough as it might be, if we were to care about the children, don't run the other parent down in front of them. Don't make it try and damage their relationship with them, because as we get older, we know, and we have to think on how important it is to have a good relationship with both our mum and dad if we're lucky to have them with us. They don't have to be together, and we might even prefer one than the other, but no parent be involved in turning your children, if you care about them, against the other parent. Nothing can be achieved through that. And it's just more of a reflection on yourself than it is on the other person. If the other person is such a bad person, well, rise above it, Don't be running them down in front of the young ones, because it's they that are damaged. The parent might recover from it, but the young people, those are scars that they will carry into their adulthood, and for many, it'll manifest itself in one way or other. And we don't want to do that to our children. We're here to care. The only one thing we can really do in this life is have children and care for them. Really, that's the most important thing. Everything else is kind of superficial, or our money, our houses and cars, that all really doesn't matter. The only thing we can really do that's meaningful, well, not the only thing, but the most important thing, I think, is to care for young children who look up at us and expect us to do the absolute best for them. And that's as much as we can do. And we need the help, obviously, sometimes. But that's the best thing we can do. So if the person who's trying to turn the children against the other partner is listening, please stop. Think of your children, even if you can't stand your former partner, because it's they that you truly, truly are hurting into the long term. And as I say, who's to say that what impact it might have then on them in later life?
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Are you interested in becoming part of a dynamic sales team? Do you have sales experience, along with an understanding of digital and social media? If so, we'd love to talk to you. Send your CV to jobs@highlandradio.com before Friday, 5th of August.
Don't miss the 53rd Clonmany Festival open-air concerts, including Mike Denver on Tuesday the 2nd of August, and on Wednesday the 3rd, it's Derek Ryan. Don't miss these and many more open-air concerts at this year's Clonmany Festival from Sunday the 31st of July to Sunday the 7th of August. For a full programme, log on to clonmanyfestival.com. This ad is sponsored by Joyce's Centre Clonmany.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us. The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €4.8 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Donegal Tunnel Tigers Dinner Dance takes place on Wednesday the 3rd of August in the Waterfront Hotel in Dunlow, with music by McFlavin. Tickets priced at €45 and are available from the Waterfront Hotel reception, County Dry Cleaners Letterkenny, or Donegal Tunnel Tigers on Facebook.
Quick, write this number down. 91 48 234. Fleming Doors, industrial doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
The Donegal Hurling Finals will be played this Saturday at O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny. In the senior decider, old rivals Setanta and Burt will go head-to-head for the Munster Cup. The full game will be live on Highland this Saturday from the 4 p.m. start with Oisín Kelly and Eugene Organ. Highland's coverage from the finals of the Donegal Hurling Championships is in association with the Northwest Premier Bathroom and Tile Store, Bathroom and Tile Boutique, Bridgend.
Going on holidays this summer? Look the part in any of the new Donegal jerseys, home and away. From Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, your official O'Neill stockists. New Donegal GAA Nevada range, now in store and online. Donegal Nevada t-shirts with matching shorts. Donegal Nevada quarter zips, hoodies and jackets in fresh new summer colours. Available in junior and adult sizes. Look the part, play the part. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Okay, on a Wednesday we have an item called Wellness Wednesday, and on it we focus on different areas of our personal health and well-being. It could be physical, it could be mental, it could be emotional, it could be to do with your diet, whatever it might be. This week, excuse me, we are going to focus on what supports are available to people with Parkinson's disease. Anne Fox is National Chair of the Parkinson's Association of Ireland and Secretary of the Donegal branch, and is in studio with me. Good morning to you, Anne.
Morning.
It's great to have you in.
Thank you.
Right, okay, so why did or how did you come to be involved with the Parkinson's Association of Ireland?
Well, many years ago, Greg, a friend of mine was diagnosed up here with Parkinson's, and she was quite young. And when we looked, there was no support services. We didn't know an awful lot about it. I certainly didn't know an awful lot about it. So we looked around to see what was available. There was nothing, so we set up a support group in Donegal. And over the years, it has spread now to become the Northwest, to include Sligo and Leitrim.
And there was nothing there beforehand, really?
No, nothing in our area, like.
And what is there now?
There is the local support group where we hold meetings, information meetings. We provide services now, because services, while it's a progressive disease, it can be treated and managed, and a lot of it is through services. Mobility would be a big issue for people with Parkinson's, so we would provide physiotherapy classes, we would provide chair yoga, and then at national level they would provide Ask the Dietitian for a clinic every week. They would also provide the nurse. Lisa is a permanent nurse now in head office, and she does a clinic every week. Ask the nurse, and she would go through areas that people find difficulty with. It could be with anxiety, it could be depression, it could be bowel movement, all of those, and she will deal with those on a regular basis for us.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about what Parkinson's is and you know, how many people get it?
Well, Parkinson's is a progressive disease, and it's caused by lack of production of dopamine in the brain, and then this causes the body to react. Maybe people will notice a tremor on one side of the body, they may notice a weakness, and then they get their diagnosis from a neurologist. As I say, it's not curable, but can be treated through medication and preventative measures.
Can you stall or stop the progression?
Early treatment, early diagnosis and early treatment will help to stall. Probably is not the right word.
Slow
down,
yeah.
And then other treatments can help with the slowdown of it as well.
Yeah. So early diagnosis is really, really important.
Really essential.
So
yes.
even if we're putting it down to something else, or we don't want it to be something serious, we have to try and overcome that if we can, and get an official diagnosis as soon as possible.
Absolutely. If you notice any of those things, a tremor, a weakness in one side of your body, a lot of people think, oh, tremor, it will go, but it won't. So you're better to go and get an early diagnosis, so you can start on a treatment program that will help.
Yeah. And it's a diagnosis that takes some time to come to terms with, obviously.
It does, and this is one of the things we find. You know, you get your appointment with your neurologist, you get your diagnosis, and then you go away. And then you have all of these questions and concerns, and you might not meet a neurologist again for 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's a long time.
And I mean, if you asked 100 people in the street, you know, how does Parkinson's affect you? You would get one or two or three things, the headline things, if
yes.
you know what I mean. But what you are dealing with and what the supports are there for are the other realities of life, the other knock-on effects it can have on how your body works or doesn't work as it once used to.
Absolutely, and you know the phrase "use it or lose it."
Yeah.
So we would always say to our patient, go to these classes. Take as much exercise, diet, take your meds on time, all of that kind of thing. So to help with the treatment of it and to slow down the progression of it, Greg.
Yeah, and in terms of any advances in terms of the medical side of things, and we'll talk more about the physical and the dietary side of things. Is it one of those diseases that it affects people in many different ways, so it makes it more complex to target a treatment?
It is. There are no two patients really the same.
Yeah.
So therefore, the medication for patients can be different. And there's a lot of research going on, which we as a national office are involved in as well with UCC. But as I said, there are no two people the same. So it takes a while for medication to take effect.
And it has to be refined.
And it has to be refined, tweaked all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get you. Okay. Now, so talk to me then about some of the complications for a person with Parkinson's. You talked about you kind of talked a little bit about them, but what are the most common complications of Parkinson's?
One of the things we find, Greg, is falling can be very common. And when medication is working really well, they have a good on time, and then there's an off between the first medication and then your next dose. There's that off period, and that's where people will say, I have difficulty with maybe getting up off the chair.
Yes.
Walking or freezing.
Which that in itself is incredibly
difficult. Even
but emotionally, it's like, I could yesterday, I can't today.
Or maybe they will stand up, but they can't move forward.
Yes.
And this is where the physio and there are little tricks and things we can give them to help them walk. There's a very good one out there at the minute. It's a laser cane, and it puts a laser point on the floor that they can aim for, and that can help. There are other tricks and treats.
Is it like playing a wee game on the brain?
Yes.
That type of thing? Is that what it's doing?
The body wants to do it, but the brain is the message is not getting to the brain.
Yeah, so you have to sort of try and find a way of re-networking or rewiring.
Absolutely.
And that visual of the laser can be enough for some.
Enough, because sometimes they may want to walk and then they can't, and then they get this burst and it's kind of a shuffle. And that's where a fall can occur. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of the age demographic, are we seeing any changes in the pattern of Parkinson's and who it's affecting? And there's a big conversation at the moment, of course, in relation to sports people, who've played impact sports, and I think that we're only really probably having that conversation now. But more generally in the wider society, are we seeing any changes in the behaviour of Parkinson's disease and who it might and might not affect?
Well, I think prior to my involvement and in my early stages of involvement, it seemed to have been the older cohort of people, but now I'm seeing younger people contact me to say, Anne, I've got a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it is getting to that level that there are younger people now coming on board with Parkinson's.
Yeah. Okay. And that could be down to awareness as well. It could be down to a number of factors.
Absolutely. Awareness is key. Awareness and education are key. And that's what head office are trying to promote all the time, to give them then the supports they need.
Yeah. Is there a lag between... and we had this kind of conversation not too long ago as it relates to multiple sclerosis. Is there a lag between someone getting this diagnosis and maybe reaching out for help? In other words, saying, I need help. Or, someone say, I don't need a support group, or I don't need this, that, and the... is there still, or not still, is there sort of a... For not everyone, we're all different, where people sort of go, I wish I'd have made that contact 6 months earlier or a year ago. Is that a...
Absolutely, because I think, when the diagnosis is given by a neurologist in Galway, Dublin or wherever, it takes time to process that.
Yeah.
And some people would have said to me, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want anybody to know. So there was that lag, as you say. But I suppose part of that is shock.
Yeah.
And as I say,
it's so understandable.
And so understandable.
Like I'm thinking, I think that's what I would do. I might as well be honest. I think I would say, right, I'll do it in 6 months. See how I am.
Yeah.
Something.
And you have to come to terms with it yourself first. Yeah. And once you come to terms with it, then people are inclined to reach out because they won't see a neurologist again for 6 to 12 months, and they have questions that they need answers to. Yeah. They could be simple questions like, can I drive? Mm-hmm. Can I continue to work? Mm-hmm. And that's where we see now the young people, that's their concerns.
Yes, of course.
Can I work? Yeah. You know, do I need to tell my boss?
Is my life effectively over as I once knew it? Or can I
continue on?
Work with this?
With this, yeah. You know,
literally
do I tell my boss? Whom do I tell? Like, and there is that fear around that, and that's where education really.
But what an amazing group in the Parkinson's Association of Ireland, that you have people that you can even just bounce that off, because you can't tell someone, can you still, but you can have that conversations, and the more people you talk to, it's like a sponge. The more information you have, because we're all individual, but there's an awful lot of overlapping in our experiences, even in something as diverse as Parkinson's.
Absolutely, Greg. And we have in the Northwest a buddy system. So if somebody rings me and says, I'm newly diagnosed, and I will say, well, I have a couple of people here whom you might like to talk to, that will talk you through and give you information on their experience. Mm-hmm. And you know, while it is not a nice diagnosis, it's not one of the worst. That's what I always say to them, of the neurological diagnosis you can get. You know what I mean?
In terms of how we engage with people in their homes to maybe do some exercises and stuff, did we make some gains, ironically, through the lockdown, in that, you know, people, you know, in other words, those that might not come physically to a centre or something, or perhaps didn't want on the phone, that maybe we've caught people that are happy enough to engage via video call, for example, or that type of thing.
Yeah, because that was one of the things we were concerned about with COVID, that isolation would set in, because a lot of them were the cohort that were supposed to be, if you like the word, cocooning, and we thought, how do we get around this? So Zoom, while we're probably fed up of Zoom and now after 2 years of it, but it worked brilliantly for us because we were able to provide the classes through Zoom.
And does that mean now going forward you have a blended approach?
We have a blended approach now, so that people who feel that there's still a cohort of our group that are still nervous.
100%, I can understand that.
And you know,
and I think they don't have a voice. That you're giving them a voice today, but like you actually see people putting videos up online. Shouting and abusing people walking down the street with a mask on, rather than just saying, you know, they're not compulsory now. Let people get on with their life.
Yeah,
that's how they feel. Stop trying to tell them how, you know.
And I would have said the same to my own group. I said, if you're comfortable wearing a mask, wear it. You don't need anybody to tell you whether you should wear it or shouldn't. It's up to yourself.
People shouldn't become what they oppose.
No, it's a personal choice.
Exactly. Right, so I contact you for the first time. I contact the Parkinson's Association of Ireland, the Donegal branch. Right, so we're going to talk then, are we, about I'm going to ask some obvious questions that you talk of, maybe about work and what have you, and will I be able to lift my children? I'm sure people ask questions like that there as well. And then we start talking about the importance of our physical well-being and what we consume. So is the diet element of it that certain foods are thought or known to slow things down, or is it about just you being generally healthier?
It's both. It's both, I suppose, Greg. It's about being generally healthier, but it's also about foods that may prevent your medication from working effectively. Mm-hmm. So when you take your first medication in the morning, should I eat this, that, to make sure that the medication is taking the best effect for you? And therefore, this is where the dietitian and your diet. Yeah.
And it's not right, the dietitian doesn't go, right, cornflakes in the morning, ham sandwich at lunchtime, beef stroganoff in the evening. The dietitian says, we'll speak to the person and work out what their medication is, what's best for them, and almost design a plan for each individual.
Absolutely. And maybe there are certain foods out there that she may say you should avoid those, depending on what you're saying is happening between your first dose of meds and your next dose. She might say, well, if you're eating X, Y, and Z, maybe you should not do that because it's not helping the medication get through the system.
Does Parkinson's affect us emotionally, or do we have an emotional response to Parkinson's? You know, in terms of maybe anxiety or stress? Or
anxiety and depression are two of the things.
So is that our response to it, or do we think Parkinson's creates
I'd say it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
It's our response to it, and it's, I suppose, Greg, when you're told something as major as that, from the point of view of anxiety, you start to worry, what can I do? You know, what's the next 5 years? What's the next 10 years? As you say, can I work? Can I continue to drive the car? Can I drop my kids to school? All of that kind of thing. Will I be as supportive in my family as I have been? And then the anxiety of other people knowing is a big one. There are people out there who just don't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
I've talked to people who said they worry about shopping, because when they go in and go up to the cash register, maybe they have the tremor in their hand and they're trying to get their money out, and they get very nervous and they're conscious of people behind in the queue. So that in itself brings an awful lot of anxiety, and then you worry that they will isolate and say, I won't do that anymore. Where we're saying, don't worry about the queue behind you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You just do it your own thing at your own pace.
Yeah, there's a person texting, and I'd say they're either up to high-do about themselves or someone close to them, and I kind of know how that feels. So I hope they get it. What they want to know is, you're talking about Parkinson's disease. Is shaky writing? Could that be an early sign?
Yes,
no, it could be.
But it also may not be.
Okay, it could be something else. So this is a person that's probably been dealing with this for 6 months and just worked up the courage to call in when you were on.
Yeah.
And they might have wasted 6 months either of knowing what the story is or not having to worry about what they don't have or their loved one doesn't have.
I mean, it's not, you just can't base it on one thing like shaky writing. Now, writing can become an issue because of a tremor, but in that case, I would be saying to that person to reach out.
Yeah, because it also depends on their age and whatever else is going on in their life. Is okay.
Yeah, so they should look to their GP, maybe ask them to get a referral to a neurologist, and not assume, I suppose, Greg, that you have something until it's confirmed.
Yeah, and even maybe the first protocol, the GP might be able to allay.
Absolutely.
Because there could be a medication that's causing it. Something, it could be anything, or it could be it. So, but you're not going to know by texting us in. And I say that, and I'm speaking to myself. I hope that person understands that I understand. I think I understand exactly where they're coming from. I take propranolol, 40 milligrams, 2 daily. Are these the best tablets? I'm a 62-year-old lady knowing about my Parkinson's for 4 years. Now, are you comfortable commenting on that?
Well, because I'm not a medical professional, I would be suggesting that person talks to her GP, her neurologist, or can ring the head office on the free phone number 1-800-359-359 and ask to speak to Lisa, the Parkinson's nurse.
That is a perfect example, I think, of a caller with Parkinson's that perhaps is not fully aware of the services that the Parkinson's Association of Ireland provide. And this is why these conversations are important. This is why we do it, because it only has to affect 1 or 2 people, and that's enough for me. We've talked about the physical progress of Parkinson's. What is the impact on one's mind? I think is a couple of questions come in, and I'm going to use the word mind. So how can it impact people's, in terms of conversation, their clarity of thought, that type of thing?
Their clarity of thought is still good, but it's their voice.
Yeah. Can the mind wander? Can I put it like that?
The mind at times can wander, because
so the
they're trying to.
Are there, but the way to, you might say the mind can wander, or attention or concentration might be affected. Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of that is because maybe their voice has become affected at a later stage.
Yes.
And they're trying to get their thoughts and then get it out, and it can become frustrating.
There's a traffic jam.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So that requires patience, not from the person. They have the patience of, but it requires us around them to have patience then as well. Because we could, our reaction or finishing sentences or trying to help, that presumably could exacerbate precisely what you're talking about.
Make them become frustrated, because it's like anybody who's trying to say, we would have noticed it with people with stammer. Maybe you would try thinking, I'll help them out. Mm-hmm. But no, we should give them the time and space to say what they have to say, because what they have to say is every bit as important as what you or I have to say.
Yeah.
And who knows better how they're feeling than themselves.
Yeah. Why are there no support group meetings in Letterkenny? There are a lot of Parkinson's sufferers in northeast Donegal. It's not always convenient to go to Ballyshannon or Sligo. Now, Ballyshannon's a long way away. Is there a gap in terms of supports up here, and if so, why?
It's difficult because the county is so big, Greg, and because we deal with Sligo and Leitrim as well, Ballyshannon was our best for everybody. Now, if there is somebody in Letterkenny who still, we provide transport to those meetings.
But it is
we've had
an inconvenience.
We've had
there are people that aren't going to make that trip, that if there were something more locally, they'd be there. And I know you can't be all things to all people, but that's it.
I mean,
what would it take to then maybe sort of have something in say Letterkenny?
Yeah, we could have a meeting in Letterkenny if there was a demand for it. But a lot of our members are we're going from Mallinhead literally over to Gidor, over that area, and as I said, that's why we do provide transport if people want to come. There is no reason that I couldn't organise a meeting, we'll say in September, for Letterkenny to see what kind of numbers turn up.
That'd be,
and just, but it was Ballyshannon was just picked from the point of view.
Well, I'll tell you, if you are going to do that in September, please let us know, and I'll give a good plug in advance, and then you will be able to find out at that point. And it doesn't mean it's a pathway to regular meetings, but look, sometimes people don't know, and I will do all I can to promote it for you, and then you can see where you go from there.
That would be brilliant, and what I will tell the people out there in Letterkenny and the surrounding areas now that we will have an information day in Letterkenny in September. Okay,
right, exactly, and we'll see where we go from there. Do they do deep brain stimulation operations in Ireland for Parkinson's patients?
That has come online now in the last couple of years. We do it now in the matter. Before that, people had to go to England for it, and that was quite cumbersome because you had to go back for their checkups and all that. So now it's been done in Ireland.
Yeah. Can a person with MS atrophy get support from the Parkinson's Society?
I haven't known that to happen, but I don't see a reason if somebody is out there and is isolated and would seek help that we could see what we could do. I know there is an MS Society, which does very good work as well.
I understand. Okay. Thanks to Anne and the Parkinson's organisation for your support when I was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's very important to get as much information as possible. Thank you, Anne. That comes in from a listener called Jimmy.
You're welcome, Jimmy.
My father has Parkinson's and his mind is wandering, but it is more progressive. He's on different tablets now and he can walk and go out of the house and stroll. But when he's out for a certain amount of time, the body just gives up and he can't walk. My sister has to go behind him and physically lift his feet. When he rests, the power comes back again and then he can go so far. So is that an energy situation? Is that something that could be improved with exercise, or is that just how Parkinson's is affecting this gentleman?
It could be just how the Parkinson's is affecting him. It could be to do, as you say, with energy levels, or it could be something to do with his meds. And again, I would say contact Lisa.
Could need a tweak.
It could need a tweak. It might be that, one of his meds needs a tweak that would help in that situation. And again, I would say contact Lisa, the nurse in head office.
Do your batteries drain quicker with Parkinson's? Do you know how we build up our reserve of energy and it depends on, it can depend on our fitness, but
absolutely,
you deplete and quicker.
Yes, and that can happen between your med time, like your first and your second and your third dose, that can happen. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone wants to, one other thing, in terms of not your supports but the state provided supports, is it still dependent on your air code as to what you have access to in terms of neurologists or appointments? Like, are we disadvantaged in the Northwest versus, obviously, the universe to which we all rotate around County Dublin?
Yeah, well, from the point of view, Parkinson's Association of Ireland is not funded. Mm-hmm. We get no government funding, so all our funding is fundraised or donations. And we're talking about 12,000 people, probably more, Greg. And we've only 6 nurses in Ireland, 4 Dublin based. Now, we have made a submission this year that we would get more nurses, and we're hoping that the upcoming budget will do that for us.
One based in the Northwest.
Yeah,
okay.
And we would love one. Donegal is such a big county, and not to have a Parkinson's nurse in Donegal is just awful for us. And a nurse can be hospital and community based. And if you have a nurse on the end of the line, she gets to know the patient so well. She can visit them, see what their needs are, and it would be a vital support for us up here.
Right. Okay. Well, listen. If you're making another concerted effort in that regard, again, come back to us so we can back you on that. There's so much there, Anne. I suppose we'll conclude. Do people contact the Parkinson's Association of Ireland on a central number, and then they're referred to the Donegal branch, or how does contacts work?
A lot of the time it is done that way. They ring the free phone number and say, I'm in Donegal or I'm in Sligo or wherever, and I'm just wondering, is there a branch or any supports up here? And the head office will give them my contact details, and then they'll contact me, and I will send them out there.
And I think something also we learned today is that there are people, even with Parkinson's, that perhaps aren't fully aware of the type of supports that are available from the Parkinson's Association of Ireland. And the simple thing to do is to call and say, this is my situation, what should I do? Because at the very least, I presume there's a signposting. If there's something can't be done, you could say, well, we've had that call, this person did that, and that worked for them. So,
yes, absolutely.
Okay, listen, Anne, it's been educational, it's been interesting, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Right, that is Anne Fox, National Chair of Parkinson's Association Ireland and Secretary of the Donegal branch. We're going to be talking business news and other matters after we take a break.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
The train calling at Platform 3 is the 1959 service to Cork. Calling at Charleville, Mallow and Maria in C32A starts chemo next month.
We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSE, for us all.
Newly engaged and searching for the perfect venue, the 4-star Courage Hotel Gweedore is gaining popularity as Donegal's leading wedding venue thanks to its reputation for excellent food, beautifully upgraded ballroom and idyllic location on the shore of River Clady, with the majestic Errigal Mountain providing the perfect backdrop. Start planning your wild Atlantic wedding with a private viewing on 07495 32900 and discover our newest wedding packages. And Courage Hotel Gweedore, part of the Gallen Hospitality Group.
Park Run has taken my running to the next level. It's a good opportunity to catch up and meet friends and make new friends as well. It's how I got introduced into the local running club. Just knowing it's there every week, no matter what stage you're at. I find it's a much healthier approach to running. I'm Dave and I'm a park runner.
VHI believes Park Run is more than running. That's why we're their biggest supporter. Join us every week at your local Park Run.
MD Installations are currently recruiting qualified electricians across Donegal to work on the National Smart Metering Framework Programme on behalf of ESB Networks. Would you like a market-leading salary, bonus and a company van with tools and full training provided? To be considered, you will need a copy of your electrical qualification, a valid safe pass and clean driving licence. To apply, visit our website at www.mdinstallations.com or call our Monaghan office on 047 75 971.
Cullen Fun Fair will be in Buncrana from Friday, July 29th to Sunday, 7th of August. Open weekly at 6 till 8 and weekends from 2:30 till 8. Come along and enjoy some family fun with Ireland's largest touring fun fair. Remember to hold on tight and scream if you want to go faster. Cullen's Fun Fair at the Shorefront Buncrana from July 29th.
New this week in Home Store and More. All garden wall art is half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price garden wall art is gone, it's gone. Also, all living room cushions are still half price. But when all the half price living room cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Great flaming day. The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on, with up to 50% off all mattresses, with 0% interest-free finance and terms up to 4 years available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself a better night's sleep. Visit Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park Derry and Sligo Retail Park Sligo.
Gonna be a great day. Ain't nothing gonna stand in my way.
Getting value on your shopping has never been more important. That's why at SuperValue we have great offers like SuperValue Fresh Irish Cowboy Steak save 33%, selected personal care like Radox, Tresemme and Lynx save 70%, and get new weekly money off vouchers on the Real Rewards app. For low prices that compete with anyone, it's got to be SuperValue.
Summer garden clearance at Homeland, Madrid, Leon or Monaco patio planters. Buy one, get one free. Brazier Table Fire Pit, €149, save €50. Titchwell Sun Lounger with cushion, €249, save €50. Daffodil Garden Bench, €99, save €30. Shop our full range of offers in-store and online at homeland.ie while stocks last.
Business Matters, in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. The part-time Level 8 Honours degree in Business is delivered through a mix of online and face-to-face lectures. Email execedbusiness@lyit.ie. That's execedbusiness@lyit.ie or call 9186206.
Good morning, Kieran O'Donnell.
Good morning, Greg Hughes.
Great to have you in studio because it is Wednesday and it means we have another edition, another episode of the Business Matters podcast, the business podcast from Highland Radio, compiled, put together, presented by the man I mentioned, Kieran. How are you keeping anyway?
Good, Greg.
How's your summer going? Are you enjoying the weather? Is it too hot for you or?
No, it's not too hot. Look, it's
getting shade's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, hopefully the weather's going to stay good today.
Yeah. In fact,
we'll take it a day at a time. We'll not look too far ahead of ourselves.
We're going to have good weather for the rest of this week. Good, relatively speaking.
But the extremes are kind of crazy. You know, 2 weeks ago we had a seriously warm couple of days, and then we had the floods.
But even within the county,
weekend,
those days were very the further north you went, the shorter those days were in terms of actually them being summer days. Right, okay, that's the weather forecast for this episode of the Business Matters podcast. Moving on to business. Initial works beginning at the Dunree Visitor Experience. I like to hear this because, you know, we need to be maximising the visitor experience and the parking and the facilities and everything for some of this amazing stuff we have and enhancing it. So talk to us about this one because this is one of the bigger projects of the last number of years.
Donegal County Council, Fáilte Ireland and Fort Dunree Military Museum Company Limited officially commenced initial work on the new Fort Dunree Visitor Experience. So the development of Fort Dunree Visitor Experience was allocated $9.3 million by Fáilte Ireland with an additional $3.2 million in match funding committed by Donegal County Council. So the project is due to be developed over the next 18 months with construction expected to commence in late 2023 or early 2024, and it's going to be a huge asset to the county and to the Peninsula Finish Zone when it's up and running.
There's your property tax, folks. That's the kind of stuff it's used for these type of projects and the match funding that's required. Right, okay. Now, what's this?
Yeah, the official opening
G-Tech,
of the...
is it?
Yeah, G-Tech.
Okay, G-Tech, sorry.
Yeah, at Carrigaird. It's a new digital hub on Carrigair's Main Street. It was performed last Thursday by the Minister for Rural and Community Development, Heather Humphreys. So the hub has 18 desk spaces and a newly refurbished 1,800 square foot building. So G-Tech Carrigaird is part of a brand of digital hubs in the Gaeltacht region, and this development offers, I suppose, it's another opportunity for businesses and individuals in the community to work remotely while still support the local economy.
So, I'd be interested to see how many of those desks are taken up.
Yeah,
in time.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's half an hour from Letterkenny, and
that's if you're going over Loch Salt now.
Yeah,
45 minutes through Milford.
Yeah, but look, it's
another. Maybe you've the foot down. Are you heavy-footed?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. Okay. Definitely
not. But yeah, it is, and you know,
look, it is the point you've made is right. I won't be able to say, you know, what sort of business gravitates towards there, and I suppose I'd be able to go back to say maybe this time next year.
It's not something I have a great insight into, and I think maybe actually going to visit one of these hubs down the line would help because it. And I was out at, it's a different type of thing, but I was out at the Goodall Business Park, and it was amazing to see businesses that were formerly located in the United States operating there, big teams of people and stuff. I would love to actually go in and have a look and get a sense of who is working in these places and how's it's advantage to them. Not to try and expose anything, but to satisfy my own curiosity, Kieran.
Look, I paid a visit to the Creevin Centre, and I think the Creevin Centre are going to manage this centre. And look, you probably need to go and see it for yourself, right? And appreciate what's done. And I think the thing that struck me was it was the diversity of businesses that are actually all under the one roof.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right, okay. And it's a workspace outside of the home as well. Even though there might be good broadband in the area, it's a workspace out of the home for those lucky enough to be able to do that. It'd be a lovely balance to have.
And the local businesses benefit.
Yeah, of course. Carrick now, regeneration. What's planned for Carrick?
Plans are afoot for the regeneration of Carrick, and 2 surveys are taking place this week to assist those tasked with shaping the future of the southwest Donegal village and its surrounding areas. An in-person survey has been organised for this Friday in the car park in front of the old school between 10:30am and 1pm, and an online survey to help identify what aspects of Carrick and its environs could be improved in order to enhance the public realm for both residents and visitors has also been drawn up.
In a way, homeowners are lucky because we don't know where things are going, and people might be lucky enough to be able to fix their mortgage if they have a house in such a condition that works for them too. Renters, an uncertain future for them because they're at the whim of the landlords and the markets. What are trends telling us as it relates to rents?
Yeah, as you say, more certainty with mortgage holders than people who are renting. Rents for tenancies increased by 9% in the first quarter of 2022 compared to the same time last year. That's according to new figures from the Residential Tenancies Board and Economic and Social Research Institute. The national standardisation average rent for new tenancies was €1,460 between January and February. That represents a 3.3% increase or €46 on the previous quarter. So rents for tenancies in Dublin were €2,015 per month, and outside Dublin they were 1,127.
And latest figures show that more and more of us will be renting. So the prospects for people now 20, 30 or 40 or in the 20, 30s and 40s to own their own home is dwindling all the while. Less and less people own their own homes into the future unless something is done. But that creates its own problems then when people head towards retirement age, and there's a knock-on effect there as well. I'd love to see something really proactive at a government level to try and address that issue. Right, okay, something completely different here. Junkature.
Yeah, Junkature has signed a strategic partnership deal with Rocket Sports, which was founded by Elton John, as its lead brand partnerships agency in the UK and Europe. Junkature, set up by Buncrana man Troy Armour in 2010, is a television fashion competition for secondary school students where participants design, create and model fashion made from recycled items. We had Troy on the show back in December, Greg, and I do know that he was obviously on the hunt for a deal such as this. So I would say this is a major game changer for himself and his business.
Yep, nice one. Great news. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with a look at this week's podcast.
In the LG price drop at Ben Sweeney Euronics, we have incredible value in all LG TVs. Like a 50-inch smart TV for only $399, a 65-inch for $599, and the massive 82-inch for $1,349. If you're looking for a TV that's a work of art, a big screen cinema, a portal to gaming worlds, or a front row seat to the biggest sporting events, you'll get amazing value right now at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre down low.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Dance the night away this Saturday night to Patrick Finney and his band in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town. That's this Saturday, the 30th of July. Doors open 9 p.m. DJ Stephen Doherty kicks off the night, followed by Patrick Finney and his band at 10:30. Admission only €15 in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town.
Book a private VIP screening at Century Cinemas. Perfect for celebrating birthdays and special occasions. Featuring a private VIP screening with luxury reclining seating, delicious popcorn and a brilliant choice of movies. For further information on our VIP packages, call Century Complex Letterkenny on 07491219976 or visit centurycinemas.ie.
The Donegal Hurling Finals will be played this Saturday at O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny. In the senior decider, old rivals Setanta and Burt will go head-to-head for the Munster Cup. The full game will be live on Highland this Saturday from the 4 p.m. start with Oisín Kelly and Eugene Organ. Highland's coverage from the finals of the Donegal Hurling Championships is in association with the Northwest Premier Bathroom and Tile Store, Bathroom and Tile Boutique, Bridge End.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate holiday loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
All right, there was a genuinely innovative and sort of groundbreaking event that took place this week. Derelict in Donegal and beyond. Talk to me about it, Kieran.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it in this week's podcast. We'll be chatting to conference organisers, Letterkenny Cathedral Quarter Secretary Donald Harvey, Letterkenny Teddy Town's co-chairman and owner of McGee's Pharmacy, Gerard McCormick. We'll also be getting the views of property owner Lee Gooch from Highland, Donegal County Council's Heritage Officer Joe Gallagher, and Architecture Officer with the Heritage Council, Colin Murray. So in this clip, Highland representative Lee Gooch talks about buying and renovating number 2 Church Lane in Letterkenny, and he also talked about what he said during Friday's conference.
So I talked them through the different, pitfalls and hoops, and about the funding that I got in, and about the guidance that I got along the way, and the different things I learned about renovating or bringing back an old building that's been derelict for 25 years, bringing it back to life.
So 6 years is a long project, but I'm sure there's a great sense of satisfaction, Lee, once you've seen the finished product.
Yeah, well, if you said to me back in 2016 when I bought the property, right, if you says, Lee, in 6 years' time you're going to have a fabulous 1-bedroom bespoke house in the heart of Letterkenny, how would you feel? I would say, I would be the happiest man in the world, and I am the happiest man in the world, because I never thought I would have it done in that time, because I bought the property in 2016, and I had Noah, my son, at that stage, and he was 1 year old, so I had a lot on my plate.
Yeah, but if you have the will and the means, you can get there, Kieran.
Yeah, look, he's one of 6 or 7 people who took a...
So what does his story tell us, Kieran? Is that maybe is it really about having the vision and the drive, but seeing these properties in town centres, maybe former commercial properties? I'm not saying that's the case here, and turning at least parts of them back into sort of residential. Or what are we learning through a conference like this?
Well, I suppose there are a lot of aspects to the conference last Friday, and a lot of very good speakers. I suppose Lee was one example of a person who decided to sort of invest and turn the property around. In terms of heritage, there are a lot of spin-offs from heritage in terms of a lot of employment opportunities. For example, specialists in heritage, then you've got the builders, then you've got the building providers, then you've got the designers. So there's a very much a sort of rippling effect and a very positive effect. And it was very enlightening and very informative as well, the conference. And I suppose Lee, we referred to the fact that it was 6 years from probably start to finish, but he's also undertaken now a second property in Ramelton, the Guildhall. It's a much bigger development, but obviously he has been sort of taken by the process. He enjoys that. It's a long-term project as well, but obviously the sense of satisfaction when it gets to over the finish line must be huge. Yeah,
and another interesting speaker was Colin Murray. Talk to us about him.
Yeah, Colin is Architecture Officer with the Heritage Council, and he gave those in attendance plenty of food for thought in his presentation. Here he recalls a previous occasion when his work took him back to Letterkenny 27 years ago.
This is not my first time back in Letterkenny. In 1995 I spent a summer here looking at every single building in the urban area for the National Inventory of Architectural Heritage, and that was an education in itself. Looking at every single building up and down the main street, what style it was. I went into the valuations office and I found out how old those buildings were, so I could make a kind of a date map of history of Letterkenny and find the oldest building on the main street and things that were hidden behind walls and so on.
What was most fascinating finding for you?
I'll tell you. It was Kelly's on the Lower Main Street. It's closed up now. The hardware shop is closed, but in the yard beside it, from the street you can see Letterkenny Mart, 1859, I think it says. And in behind it is the original surviving stalls in a kind of a U-shaped or circular courtyard with places for people to buy and sell things way back then in the 1850s. And that still survives. I hope it still survives in there at the bottom of the main street. And let's say one of the very first moves in business, shall we say, in Letterkenny. You know, a place for people to buy and sell things, and it's still in there behind the walls on the Lower Main Street.
All right, you can get the full interviews with Donald Harvey, who's been really key in enhancing and developing and being passionate about that area. Jared McCormick, Lee Gooch, as you mentioned, Joe Gallagher, Colin Moore, who we've just heard a clip of, all available now at highlandradio.com, wherever you get your podcasts. And I think this is, they're all important. I think this is a particularly important podcast to archive that conference from a media perspective.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing I forgot to mention earlier on there, Greg, was Colin posed the question, what is a town? Mm-hmm. A town brings commerce together and brings people together. So, but
what a town was 5 years ago is very different to what a town will be in 2040, which the Letterkenny plan looks toward, isn't it?
And he wasn't necessarily talking about Letterkenny, but in the main, through his work for the Heritage Council, a notable decline in small shops, small pubs, small creameries and hardware stores.
But there are heritage.
Yeah, but at the same time, should we be worried about that trend? And the answer in one word is yes.
Yeah, but if we keep giving planning to out of town developments, do you know what I mean? I mean, that's not happening by accident. It's quite literally happening by design. You create little business parks half a kilometre outside of town. What's going to happen? Yeah, the town's going to be emptied. Right. Okay. Anyway, it's a very interesting conversation, and I get a sense we're really at the beginning.
Yeah,
of
and I suppose, look, to be fair to the organisers, it's the first conference of its kind. The more questions that were posed, I suppose, the more answers one was looking for. But I think it's the start of a very meaningful conversation, and it did create awareness. And when I came out of the conference, the first thing you started to do was look around and see, well, what sort of condition are the buildings around where we are?
Yeah, of course. And if you drive, say, if you drive from Ballyshannon to Dunlow, if you meander the west coast, or if you drive down to Knock or Galway, you pass through once thriving villages. You can see the old pub, you can see the old hardware store, you can see where the shop used to be. And these towns are effectively just derelict main streets with 2 or 3 residential buildings or one shop hanging on for dear life.
Yeah. And
what are we going to do there? That is who we are. That's
The other point that the Colin made, and it sort of ties in with what you're saying yourself there, Greg, if a business is going to set up tomorrow, they still need the services of a town to make it successful. And it can't be successful on its own.
Yeah. Well, why don't we put some of these hubs in town centres then? For starters, convert some of these buildings into these workspaces. But maybe that's already.
We have a lot to do, but hopefully, it's a start of a process that will yield good results.
It's all part of an interesting conversation, which is fully covered in this week's Business Matters podcast. It goes out on air on Sunday evening, just after the 6 o'clock news. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, the programme comments or suggestions, Kieran, or further information, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, just drop an email, please, Greg, businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Super stuff. It's available, and there's a backlog of 101 other podcasts there for you to go through if that's your thing. But it's not just about business, it's about us, our community, our heritage. It crosses all over, they're all intertwined. And it's businesses of all types and the people, most importantly, behind them, because without the people, what is there? All right, Kieran, see you Wednesday.
Good morning, Greg.
Go to our website, the on-demand section, if you want to. Thank you very much to all of you who engaged with us today, those of you who listened to the show, if you chose to watch it on social media.